screw the United Nations, screw this. We won't do business with you. You can't do XYZ. This is enough. You're about to cause the starvation of 500 million people right now. We can't do this anymore. Nope, nobody. So I don't know. I honestly, if anybody else has any thoughts, I have no idea. It's crazy.
I don't know. I'm Beatrice. Good afternoon. My name is Courtney. I talked to a few men from Cuba, and they have no idea what's going on in their country. Their families aren't able to make phone calls directly, and it's becoming really a big problem.
Oh, what's becoming a problem, Courtney? I want you to expand on that for our listeners, please. Or what are you talking about? What are your thoughts on what's happening? Do dive in a little bit. Courtney, can you hear me? Hmm. Okay. I don't know if Courtney can hear me. Salon,
You
can
know,
you hear me?
yeah, we can hear
Yeah.
you okay, B. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Anna, thanks for that. I don't think Courtney can hear me. Just let Courtney know, Anna, if you can, please, that we'll drop her down and bring her back up because she can't hear me.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem. I will. Hey, I just also wanted to say that it does feel like DC is making this concerted effort to talk about absolutely anything else. I mean, it's just such a shock to see JD Vance go from actually sounding like maybe he has a spine, or more likely he has some motivation to try to get more people on his side and try to resurrect that pathetic presidential bid that he has, that dream that he has. But he was, sounding like he was standing up to Israel yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. And then all of a sudden, of course, Israel, as expected, does what they're doing right now in Lebanon. And Trump is busy taking a look at his new Qatari Air Force One. JD, is silent again and goes back into his hole. And all that reporters want to do is talk about, well, basically anything other than this. It's a humiliation of the American government, and it's just showing no signs of slowing down.
I would have to agree with that. I'm sorry I got cut off. I was on a break from work, but I agree. The wild things that are happening, the big distractions of the airplanes. We went down and saw the reflecting pool. I'm just going to say it looks like a swamp. It is not blue like it was supposed to be. Um, there's just a lot of going on. I'm looking forward to this weekend, but I will tell you that all of us are on high alert at all times. We are watching over our shoulders. We are making sure that everyone's safe. Um, and, you know, I'm not quite sure today in the news what came out from Trump. I haven't been privy to it, but I think we all feel like we just need the truth. And I don't know. It doesn't seem to be coming out as we need. Can anyone else talk to that?
Well, it does feel like, they're trying to distract everyone. I mean, the pool thing is such an embarrassment. It's just the latest humiliation, right? But it feels like they will talk about absolutely anything else other than this. And of course, the Democrats are silent because, unless it directly benefits them and their Zionist aims, then they are more than happy to let, Trump make a fool of himself and just continue to be the bad guy and the boogeyman, even though he's conveniently doing every single thing that they want him to do, and this continued, support and attack in the Middle East. But at the same time, I can't help but wonder, like, where any kind of journalists are at this point. I don't know. I don't know how many people actually still watch CNN ever since, especially since Barry Weiss got her hands on it.
Yeah.
But what are they asking? Is anyone doing any actual journalism? I mean, it feels like such a failure on our part, and that's like, it's gotten to a new level at this point.
It has. My partner's in media and in journalism, and he has shot a few times. We've actually talked with Thomas Massey on the Congress steps last year. I'm sorry, it wasn't was it last year? I'm sorry, it was when they gave the announcement about the Epstein, you know what I'm trying to say, the Epstein survivors. And they held a press conference out there. And what I witnessed was a few news crews, and then they were all independent journalists. And I think it's getting harder and harder for us to get information out. The problem is not only the firewalls, but also I don't know, the spamming, the bots, etc. And we're not actually allowed to pin and just get the news out. So it's been hard. If anyone else has any insight here in DC, let us know, because we'd love to meet up with someone and do some stories. So yeah.
So, just some more breaking news. Baruch Ravid says that Marco Rubio is planning to visit the Middle East next week. He currently plans to visit Kuwait, UAE, and Bahrain, according to two sources. Is he going to go to Kuwait and Bahrain to look at the devastation of the bases? This is going to be very, very interesting. What else we got? Trump to Axios said a number of crazy stuff as well, so that was interesting.
Suleiman, can you elaborate? What did he say? Do you know?
Yeah, I'll give it to you in a second. 1 second.
Okay.
Just getting it up, because I just saw an overview of it, but then I remember I'm just getting my page up to let everybody know what he said. So, and guys, make sure you retweet the space, reshare the space, let everybody know we're live, we're back on the space. The interview, he didn't turn up, and the only thing I could think of is maybe it wasn't very clear in terms of me saying tomorrow, and maybe for him it was already the same day. But yeah, shout out to Hardy. That was a impressive interview. I mean, the guy literally you saw the video, right? They literally fired at him while he was reporting, which is crazy. So just one example of the things he said was, are you going to be able to control Israel from attacking Lebanon? He said, yeah, they have a lot of respect for me and they do as I say. Well, not really. They're bombing Lebanon right now, so that's ridiculous. And his statements today were quite crazy. But the only thing is, I would say, I did hear Professor Morandi on someone's show today, and he just made it sound like they're not going to really do anything about it for the next few days. So there's not going to be an Iranian response. He said in Axios, he said that if it weren't for him, Israel would have been eviscerated. He said about Iran, he said the Iranian people are very smart. They're sort of primitive geniuses, but they're smart. They would have blown up Israel if it wasn't for me. Israel would not exist today. He said, I want to thank the Emir of Qatar, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and Mohammed from the UAE. They are all incredible fighters. They fought with us and they've been loyal to us. I appreciate it. On attacking Iran, he said, remember, if we do that, then all of a sudden you're not going to have the oil flowing out of the strait too quickly. People that own billion-dollar ships don't love missiles flying over them. On Venezuela, he said, they take some, we take some. I remember about Venezuela when I said, oh, yeah, the Americans, have taken it. There was like a few people crashing out saying, no, it's still the same. It's the same government. Nothing's going to change. They're not going to give Americans it. And once again, was right. We have... Okay, he said Pete Hegseth is a natural. He doesn't know how to lose except against Iran. That was a devastating loss. He says the F-47 is under construction now. They have an assembly line ready, working. They say it's the greatest fighting machine ever developed. We will find out. Well, that's what he said about the F-35, and it didn't come out great for them. Bibi Netanyahu is a warrior prime minister. He should have ignored... he should be acknowledged as that. They should give him credit. Said, I want to thank China. I asked Xi not to get involved in Iran. He said he wouldn't, and he didn't. Very nice. Yeah, I mean, look, I've got some real question marks about the Chinese. I think they forced the ceasefire to happen the first time. I think they forced Iran to sign this. I think they're telling Iran not to respond about Lebanon. He said, we're doing a lot of trips. We're going to Turkey. We will at some point be going back to China for a big conference. So if that's funny, Xi's not coming to America. He's going to be going to China where the real boss is. He said, now we have a real agreement that was signed last night and in 60 days, they have to make a deal. Otherwise, we'll do things that won't make them happy. But I don't think it's going to get to that. He says, those ships are flowing out the Strait of Hormuz like nobody has ever seen before. Jerry Van said, if everything is Jew hatred, then nothing is Jew hatred. I actually think Jew hatred is very bad. He said, Israel, like many countries, tries to influence American politics. I take that as a given. American leaders have to be very careful that when we pursue something we're doing, it is in America's best interest, not in the interest of any other country. Trump on
Who said
Venezuela
that?
and Cuba, he said, Venezuela has oil, Cuba doesn't. Cuba has nice property and a nice shoreline. He says, I've got great poll numbers. I would beat any candidates they have by 25 points. He was asked, do you view Anthropic and to a degree its CEO, Dario Amodei, as a threat to national security? He said, well, not now, but a week ago, maybe. On Biden, he said, we had a man that couldn't walk up a flight of stairs, and I don't want to talk about this because if I trip a little bit, they'll say, oh, this is terrible. Oh, it can happen, but you can't trip every time you go on stage. Trump, I lost respect for some people. He said, who? I don't want to mention the names, but hardliners or what, you got to take them out. But hardliners, oh, you've got to take them out. I'm not looking to kill people. So he's talking about people within America who wants him to take out what he calls the hardliners. On Iran, he said, if I were hitting them right now, if we're not going to put boots on the ground, and you don't want boots on the ground, right? If we're not going to put boots on the ground, probably the same people go deep into the caves. They're called granite caves. They're very powerful. They go deep, and then we stop and then when we stop, they'll come up, and they'll probably be the same leaders. We would right now have the Strait of Hormuz totally closed. It would have mines all over it, and it would have missiles flying over $1 billion ships. Those ships would never sail. We wouldn't have oil for months. He said, Khamenei is different from the father. They're very different people. That's hilarious. Because Kabul asked, how is this regime change? You have Khamenei Jr. in Iran. He said, Khamenei Jr. is different from the father. They're very different people. He said, I took out their biggest bridge, but they showed up late at a meeting. They said, that wasn't very nice. That bridge, that's the George Washington Bridge. I wiped it out in 3 minutes. Trump on Martha Hamdi said, I killed the Ayatollah and sadly hurt the other Ayatollah. I did not meet him. I do not speak to him, but people were speaking of him. But he's got a certain braveness because he was badly injured. On the G7, he said they should have kept the G8. You probably wouldn't have the war with Russia and Ukraine if they did, but Obama didn't want Putin there. It used to be the G8. It would have been better if they kept it that way. He said Macron did a great job hosting the G7. No games. He was invited about a week ago. He said, why would you do me a favor? Would you come to Paris? We would like to honor you. I view it as honoring the nation. But he said, I'd like to honor you. He said, if it weren't for Donald Trump, Israel would have been eviscerated. We're the ones with the guns. We're the ones with the whole deal. We're the ones with the B-2 bombers, etc. The relationship with Netanyahu is good, but we have to keep him a little bit sane. Are you going to be able to control Israel from attacking Lebanon? I said, yeah, I will be. They have a lot of respect for me, and they do as I say. Okay, so that's kind of largely what he's been saying. I don't know, but you're going to jump in?
Yeah, he's so all over the place and so random. Like, I don't even get it, but he's just so full of himself. Like, oh my gosh, while the world is like sitting here waiting on his disastrous, you know, war of choice to just flush through the system like crap through a toilet bowl, because this is all that it was. He's over here like randomly shooting off like things off the top of his head. He sounds like, like a 17-year-old kid just la da 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 da. Oh, the next thing that comes out of my mouth. Like, can we just get one, like, stay focused here? Like, the whole entire world is like sitting here holding our breath. Like, not seriously, but you know what I'm saying? Like, we're like, so you gonna get Israel unleashed? Oh no, Netanyahu's the greatest prime minister ever. Blah 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 blah. Like, dude, which one is it? Do they need to chill out and he's being a psychopath or not? I know he didn't use the word psychopath, but he should have. Should have used the word psychopath. Oh no, he's just over here still touting him. I almost feel like now I'm like, dude, is this the okay, you got played again? Like they're doing the good cop, bad cop thing, like we've kind of saw from the beginning, like, oh, we're gonna take a hard stance on this. And then, you know what I mean? And then they're like, no, just keep bombing Lebanon underneath because Israel will the news channels in Israel will be like, oh no, we communicated with CENTCOM that this is what we were doing. So like, wait a second, it can't be both ways. It can't be that we're going through with this deal and CENTCOM is like, yeah, we're not striking, we're not doing these things, but then they're like, hey, we're doing these things and we're intentionally sabotaging your plan. So you can't be getting rid of the hardliners that don't support the plan, but you're not getting rid of the one giant big boulder sitting in the middle of the road. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's just going to be like, well, we're just gonna have to go back to bombing because they're not gonna open the strait back up. But the strait was open beforehand, and this was part of the terms of the MOU. Both sides agreed that it would stop. You know what I mean? Like this whole entire thing we went into this was for the protection of Israel. Truthfully, it was like 100%. We know that during the 12-day war, there was no, unless I'm wrong, was there any attacks on military bases in the Middle East during the 12-day war outside? Like, was anything struck outside of Israel, or was it just strictly military targets in Israel? That's what I walked away with the understanding of, like, we
Well,
weren't.
Israel wasn't even targeted before the war. I don't get it.
Yeah, no, 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 no. During the 12-day war last year.
Oh yeah, during the 12-day war, yeah, Israel got decimated. What was your
That
question about it?
yeah. But they didn't strike any of our military assets out there, anything
Oh no,
outside of
they didn't,
Israel,
and
right?
that I believe was an error on their side as well because US was helping and facilitating and defending, but even then they didn't. I
True.
think if they'd done it at that time, maybe they wouldn't have had this one, but
But
yeah, they didn't.
the excuse was, remember when Marco Rubio came out and he said, if we didn't strike them first because Israel was going to strike them, they would have struck us. Not so. Not so, because last year we all remember how it went down. And we know that you guys were facilitating things. We know that you guys had people there operating the THAAD systems and all, and we were giving Israel all of this stuff and everything, and we helped them through and through. But they didn't. They kept it. It's coming directly from Israel. So that's our target. That's our focus. So how is it then they broke the ceasefire that they had agreed to during the 12-day war because the nuclear weapon thing is coming back to fruition, even though the B 2 bombers sent it back to the Stone Age and blah, 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 blah. So, like, this whole entire premise is like we're chasing our tail on this. Like, this was never for us to begin with. And like, we're just sitting here holding our breath, like, what the freak? We're all being held hostage right now. So I want him to get more, like, I just feel like he's doing this good cop, bad cop thing. He's just kind of playing both sides right now because he realizes how unpopular this is. And I wonder about Barron Trump all the time. Not saying that he's some kind of like special, different, whatever, but he's really young. Like, he has to be kind of like, I mean, scoping out things on social media. I mean, they're very, you know, younger generation is very hip to what's going on. It's just like a part of their culture. Like, that's just the way they grew up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that just because he's a president's son, like, he's immune to seeing the social sentiment online. You know what I mean? Whereas maybe like Eric and Don Jr. and stuff there, they probably don't care and they've learned to tune it out because they're just over there soaking it all in and like, but he's really young and I think he might be paying attention to that kind of stuff. I wonder if he's telling his dad, yeah, they have the craziest memes about you and Netanyahu and you're grabbing your ankles and all of this stuff. I wonder if like he literally tells his dad, like, dude, you are not liked. Like the people that once stood with you, like they hate you now.
Yeah, but you
They
know
hate
what
them.
Trump's response going to be about that? He'll be like, no, no, I'm the boss. I'm the boss.
And then he shows him the pictures of him and Netanyahu and him just getting rammed by Netanyahu. And I wonder if he still thinks he's the boss. Um, I'm just wondering. I wonder if he tells him that because I feel like that's, you know what I mean? Like, would you tell your dad something like that if like your dad was in a powerful position? You're like, dude, this is what they're saying about you. These people actually supported you during the election and now they hate you.
Yeah, we shall see. We shall see. Welcome, Gigi. Bro, there's so many chicks on this panel, guys. I need some men, guys to request what is going on here. Gigi, thanks for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Give us your thoughts.
I'm
Hi,
good.
Suleiman. Hi, Beatrice. Hi, everyone. Um, well, we are back of what we don't know what's going to happen later. We are back in the limbo again. But we knew that Israel will sabotage this fragile ceasefire. And I think, just my feeling, that Trump and JD Vance and everyone else, including GCC, they're all trying to um, stop Israel, but basically they're not capable. And there are lots happening in the market, which I think is also um, influenced by Zionist money. So there are in so many different ways, they're trying to influence and force Trump back to the war. And I hope they don't succeed. But it's a very, very important period right now. We are really on a cross border. It's if Netanyahu succeed and if Ben Gvir succeed and if the Zionist money in US and the rest of the world and in UK succeed and they force everyone go back to war, it's going to be again a lot of killing and a lot of pain for middle class all over the world. So it's very interesting to watch what's happening. I think the reason that Marco Rubio is going to uh, to um, to basically to Dubai and Qatar and Kuwait and all of those countries is I'm sure they don't even trust if they are talking with these people online if Israel won't listen and sabotage it. So I'm sure the whole Gulf states are against the war and they want the ceasefire to hold. So and they are doing their best. um, Iran too. We heard from the Ayatollah, I mean not Ayatollah, Mujtaba Khamenei today. He basically said that he was against the ceasefire, but he agreed to just basically try it. In he When I read that in Farsi, he said we are going to try to see if we can make it happen. And my team promised me that they will not sacrifice anything in the account of Iran. So we'll see. So it's not a really permanent ceasefire, and nobody in this panel or in nobody can that can think thought that this ceasefire will hold without and Israel would just withdraw and
Well,
we
Gigi, I mean, I always said it, right? I always said that the Israelis would not abide by it, the war would restart. But I guess the question is going to become, what does Iran do? If Iran doesn't do anything, the ceasefire continues, right? If Iran takes the hits, if Iran allows Lebanon to be continue to be a hit, then the ceasefire continues, right? The deal continues.
I don't think, I think Iran will wait for a few days and watch and keep asking US, keep Netanyahu in check, or we'll get involved again and we'll start a war. I'm sure there are multiple
But you
phone
don't think that's
calls.
stupid? Like, you don't think that's stupid? Like,
I don't know
I
if
mean, they
that's
keep
a
saying it. Like, they keep saying, like, listen, oh, guess what, America? It's like it's like going to America saying, oh, keep Israel under control, and Israel doesn't be under control. So let's actually look at the sequence of events, what's happened. So Israel bombed Beirut. Iran said we're responding. America said, oh, don't respond. We're going to tell them off. And they're like, okay, we believe you. You're going to tell them off. Then the next day we see it. Then about a few days later, Israel bombs Lebanon. They're like, okay, Iran opens their airspace. They're about to strike, and then America says, okay, don't hit. We're gonna tell Israel off, and Iran's like, okay, that's fine, tell them off. And then what happens? We get and then America's like, Iran's like, well, okay, we're gonna sign this deal. We're not gonna sign this deal, and they're like, okay, we're gonna give you your money. And then Iran's like, okay, that's fine. And then they don't give them the money. And then what happens is today they're like bombing Lebanon ferociously, and Iran's like, oh, you're gonna do something? Like, yeah, just give us a few days. And like, okay, cool, okay, that's fine, let's wait a few more days. That's basically what's been happening for the last 10 days.
I think Suleiman, for my and that's just my feeling, and it's I'm nobody, as you know, but I feel that what they're doing, yes, it's not bish bashing immediately and going and having a kinetic war, but the only way that they can really succeed, the only way that the whole West Asia become a peaceful place is if America become on the side of that. If America completely diverge from Israel, as long as America is going back to Israel and coming back out and helping Israel and coming
Yeah,
back out,
this is the
it's
problem. So you're just
yeah, it's
what you're saying is
impossible.
what the Iranians are hoping, and I just think it's ludicrous, and I think it's a dream. Hoping there's nothing Israel does without basically America allowing it. And if Israel's continue to attack and America's not allowing it, it shows that they are deficient and incompetent. So you're hoping for some split to happen when in reality no splits happen. And you look at all the bills that's coming through, they're all about merging these two nations together. Now I get it. Iran's looking out for
No,
itself. It's
what
fine. They're making their deal or whatever. But I think the more they wait, the more it's going to look more and more like they're very selfish and they're looking out for themselves. So this is now going to be very important. At the moment, I'm thinking more that they're not. They're just being manipulated and they are being outplayed in the way that in the last 10, 15 days, Israel has bombed Lebanon whenever they wanted. They broke all the agreements, and Iran's like, okay, let's see what happens. And I just think that's not acceptable. Even now, I was listening to Professor Morani, they're like, okay, we're going to let the ships through because, we're going to give the Americans a few days. And it's like, bro, like, what is going on?
with all due respect, Suleiman, a month ago, when Abu Dhabi and Dubai allowed, or 2 months ago actually, when they allowed their airspace and their airports and their entire country be used for Israel and America to bomb Iran, did we even, any of us, consider that one day GCC would be on the side of Iran and would beg Trump to make a deal? They are
Well,
now on the side of
I
Iran.
wouldn't be proud of. They're not on the side of Iran,
No,
right?
I
So
mean, they are not on the
Saudi.
side
So
of it.
unless you think this attacks are fake, right? Which is other people's position. But Saudi allowed the US to use their airspace just a few days ago to bomb Iran. So unless you're saying that's fake, or unless you're saying Iran's allowing that to happen, they're clearly. So you're saying the person who's on the side of Iran is helping them get bombed.
Well, there are so many things happening that it's just fake for news and for agreement to
Or so
be
you think the
reached.
attacks are fake? So you think this is a facade? Iran's
Many
not
of
independent.
them,
Iran's
many of
colluding.
them. Yeah,
So Iran's
many of them
colluding.
are. Yes,
Interesting.
of course, there are. That's my feeling. I'm not saying that's a truth or that's a fact. But what I'm saying is, we have seen the change and shift in GCC since the beginning of the war. They are desperate to make a peace. They were not at the beginning. They were on the side of Israel. They were going to sign the Abraham Accord. They were financing everything
But what's
according to
changed?
Israel.
Can you explain what's changed with the
The,
GCC?
the Iranians showed them that it's not so easy to
What's no, I'm
get rid
not.
of Iran. So they
What's
showed.
changed? No, what's changed from the GCC perspective? So the GCC were helping the US and Israel use their airspace and use their military bases, correct?
Yes, correct.
Did the GCC allow the US to use its airspace and military bases just a few days ago to attack Iran?
Yes, they did.
So what's can you explain to me what's actually changed? Other than maybe they gave Iran some money, allegedly.
Well,
What
not
else has
some
changed?
money, a lot of money.
Oh, so
But
it's about payments.
no, it's not. Suleiman, before this war, they were on the camp of Israel that in 2, 3
That's not
days.
even true. UAE actually had a good relationship with Iran.
Yes, but
Before this war, the UAE used to help Iran basically put their because UAE is basically a financial hub, but part of what they are is they do a lot of money laundering and dark money. And so because Iran had to try and avoid sanctions, the UAE would help facilitate that through the bank. So the relationship with
true.
UAE was good. Then the war starts, and Iran, because the UAE is helping, then Iran attacks the UAE, and then because of that, then the relationship sours. And now, allegedly, the UAE has been going back to Iran, and they've been having these conversations. And by the way, I don't even think this is a good thing because you were the one who was used to attack Joe for being pro UAE, but I guess it was only because you were pro Iran. Whereas I'm against the UAE, and I don't even think it's a. I wouldn't be proud of the fact that Iran is, making deals with someone like the UAE, who I see as not being much different to Israel. That's not something to be proud of, to make normalization with such an evil country that's doing a lot of evil actions.
That was not
So it's
the
not even
point I
about
was
it's not
making.
even
No,
moralistic. Like this is
no,
just a
of course, I agree with you.
nationalistic, isn't it?
No, no, no. What the point I was making is trying to make it to defeat Zionist Israel, to free Palestine, and to free Lebanon from all the genocide that is happening. The more people, more country you can get on your side, so not fighting you at the time that you're fighting because of this cause, the better off you are. The more you put them on in a place that they won't attack you, the better the chance of your success.
How did they
So
get the GCC on this? Let's say they've got the G. I don't agree
because
with
the
your
GS,
premise. I
yeah, but
don't.
the
I don't.
GS,
Just let me ask you
sorry,
a question. I don't
sorry.
agree with your premise that they got GCC on the side because you've not been able to explain why Saudi helped bomb Iran just a few days ago. But let's go with that. Let's say you're right. They've got the GCC on their side. How did they get the GCC on their side?
Let me correct. I didn't say they're in their side. I said maybe I said it and I misspoke. What I'm saying, they're never going to be on the same side because they're fundamentally different. Iranian and even Iranian Shia structure is different from GCC. I'm not saying they're going to be on the side of Iran. I'm just saying that they will not fight in Iran against Iran now because they know that they're not a right match. It's two different things.
What do you mean
I'm
by
not.
match? No, but I
They're
want you to
not.
explain. Okay, that's fine. How did they get them on this or whatever? How did they get into that situation? What did they do to them?
What did they do by bombing all the thing
So they
that they
used
did?
military. They used the
They
military.
showed their military might, and they showed the GCC that they're strong. They
Exactly.
showed that
Exactly.
they're not going to be taken out so easily. So
Exactly.
GCC now is scared. They're not on side
I
of
agree.
Iran. If they could demolish Iran. Still, they would.
Well, they can't demolish Iran, but I
Yeah,
agree with
but
you that I agree with you. So we're in agreement here. So let me just relay back to you what you just said. So the way that the GCC essentially bent the knee to Iran is because Iran demonstrated, not through negotiation, because they tried those negotiations, but through military prowess to attack these countries to the extent that they yielded to the power of Iran, and then they were willing to negotiate. And so that's how you got them to be more open to Iran, even though I don't think they are. I still think they're under the control of America because they just helped bomb Iran just a few days ago. But okay, I'll go with you that they've trying to
100%.
improve their relationship for sure. And so why I'm so again that comes back to the same point. So what happened was when you demonstrated your military ability, that's how you got them to the negotiation table. When you demonstrated your military ability, so the US came and bombed Iran again. Iran went and absolutely decimated Bahrain, Kuwait, and Jordan, took out all those fighter jets, and you got America back onto the table, and Trump basically gave up everything. Up until then, he was messing around. Apparently, they kept setting him documents and he kept on ignoring them and not replying and various other things and trying to change it and trying to change every single document. As soon as they used their military capability, that's when he bent the knee and ceded to all the demands. But what's been happening since then is that they've been threatening and America's been promising, and it's just not been working because for the last 10, 15 days or so, each time Iran was about to use its military capability, which they're afraid of, the Americans basically gave them fake assurances and they yielded to those fake assurances. That's what I'm trying to say.
You're 100% right. What I'm saying, exactly what I'm trying, you're making it, making the point so much more eloquent. But what I'm feeling right now, and I see it in Europe more than, and in Canada, because I'm not in US, but I see the divergence of majority of population in all these countries, Italy, France, I have family all over of this, UK and Canada. People are completely against Israel and genocide and Zionist Israel. They are writing to their politicians every day. They're talking. So there are there.
I agree with that, Gigi, but that's not because of this.
This
People have
but
been, over time, people have been going against Israel, and actually the opposite's happening. So let me tell you what's really happening, and it's something I predicted a week ago, and what I'm saying has been right. Because if you open your eyes to what's happening on social media, because I know how human behavior works, I know how to impact and influence people, and I know how people are influenced by other things. And one of the things I said, and I predicted this, I said that if there was to be a deal, and then Israel was to violate that deal, and they would bomb Lebanon. If Iran didn't respond soon enough, people would start turning on Iran, and that's actually what's happening. Most people now who were supporting Iran at the start of this war now see Iran as being basically either looking out for themselves, selling out Lebanon, looking out for their own nationalist interests, being part of this financial complex, being part of even maybe colluding with the Zionists, maybe thinking of it only as a basically a Shia thing or whatever it is. And so you're seeing many of these people who were previously sectarian, maybe many of these people who didn't see Iran positively now coming out and saying, actually, there's problems. And this is just now. This is going to start growing and growing and growing. And so then you maybe be like, well, I don't really care what people are going to say. And that's fine. You don't need to. But the problem is public sentiment, and you've been talking about it quite a lot, does actually matter. How people view things does matter. And Iran, one of the things they succeeded in, and now they're going back to, unfortunately, more of a backward way of doing things. But what they succeeded in during the start of this war was to understand the importance of public sentiment, the importance of relaying your ideas in a very concrete manner, and people understanding what your position was. People would say, Iran would say something and then they would follow through, and Iran would do this. And they had such a positive perspective in the way they relayed their ideas. This is why the world was on board with Iran. This is why there's so much pressure now to make a deal with Iran, is because all of those things succeeded. That being said, they are failing right now in that regard in the last week or so. If you look on the entirety of social media, from a plethora of people, as opposed to maybe just the people who are from your community, you'll see the sentiment is changing quite a bit.
No, I see that, Suleiman, and I understand it. But today is Friday. In Iran, as you know, Muslims don't go to war on Friday. Let's wait and see what they're going to come up tomorrow. And I'm sure they have talked to America and said either this has to stop or we're going to start. So let's hope and see what they're kind of. I agree with you
And I'll
100%.
tell you how the conversation is going to go, Gigi. So you'll say, oh, guess what? It's the stop. And then I'm America. I'm saying, oh, don't worry, Gigi. They're going to stop. I'm going to get Netanyahu to stop. Okay, next day goes, Israel bombs. And you're like, look, you need to tell them to stop. And I say, look, I've told him. He's going to stop. He's going to stop. I've told him. And this is what's happening. And that's what's been happening for the last 10 days.
Uh,
Gigi, you've cut off.
Oh, I said the signing was just done 2 days ago. So let's wait and see what they say tomorrow.
It's
I'm
not. I'm not
sure.
saying about the signing. I'm saying from the day that Israel bombed. When did they bomb Beirut?
Well, they have been bombing Beirut for years now. They keep bombing Beirut. They stop. They bomb Beirut. They stop. They
No,
bomb
that's not what I
Beirut.
mean, Gigi.
Yeah.
Because let's be clear on this. If you're gonna, Israel has been bombing Lebanon. This is true since 2024. They never ever stopped. I've always said this, but the ferocious nature of the bombing has increased since the war. That's like saying, "Oh, Israel always bombed Gaza." Yes, it did, but the ferocious bombing of Gaza increased after October the 7th. I'm talking about this recent attack on Beirut. I think it was, I'm just checking now, it was 5 days ago. So it's not 10 days, it's 5 days. So 5 days ago, Israel bombed, was it 5 days ago? It seems like it was longer, but I guess time's, so much news that time's emerging. So so it was only 5 days ago where Israel bombed Beirut. So what day is it today? Friday. So that was Sunday, right? Sunday when they made the deal. So yeah, so it's only been 5 days. But 5 days is when, essentially, if you remember, that's when Iran was going to respond. And then America said, look, don't respond. We are going to cede to your demands. And two of the demands were about Lebanon and retreating from Israel, retreating from Lebanon. The other one was Israel, that they were going to give Iran their frozen assets, at least 50% of them immediately. And the third one was that they were going to open the blockade. They opened the blockade straight away, but the other two they've refused to do. And that's in violation of the agreement as well.
So, Suleiman, it was Iranian that canceled the going to Switzerland for discussion. They told America that we're not coming if this is going to continue. They are giving them a Friday evening, a Friday, to see what they're going to do. We have to wait and see. We can't. We have to wait and see what they're going to do tomorrow. There is a lot of people. There are a lot of people in Iran and a strong fraction of Iranian government that are against this ceasefire. They want first withdrawal of Israel from Lebanon, then they want to go to even ceasefire or negotiation. So wait until tomorrow. We have to wait and see what they're going to do. They were the one who canceled. That's why JD Vance is not going. Otherwise, America didn't cancel that. Iran canceled it. So that's one way of showing they are going to go back to war if Israel doesn't stop attacking Lebanon. That's my view. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not saying I'm
Do
right.
you know what? I'm listening to you and Suleiman, right? I'm probably going to sound a bit harsh, but for me, this isn't even about the last 10 days. It's the very first time during this war when they negotiated. And they went to Pakistan. They claimed to have sat in separate rooms. We now found out that could potentially be not true. Ghalibaf did sit with Vance, but forget all of that. They came away with the understanding that Lebanon was included in a ceasefire. And right after that, Israel started bombing Lebanon. And then America said, oh, but they're not included. And then Pakistan came out and said, no, no, they were included. That was deceit right there. Right there. We're now 112 days. How many people have been killed in Lebanon for 112 days? If you believe that this was about the resistance and Iran fighting for humanity and taking on Israel and fighting Israel so Israel could not kill people anymore in Lebanon or any of the other regions, then that's what it should be about. If it's not about that, and it's about commercial trade and it's about listening to China and it's about, we will show restraint unless China tells us we can go and attack, then say that. But don't fool the people and don't delude the people because nobody believes Israel, nobody believes America. And so if you're saying you believe America, then more fool you. You know what I mean? I think Iran needs to just come out and just make its intentions clear because they're deliberately deluding people at the moment, is what I feel.
Well, you know more than me, and I respect your feeling. But just remember, Iran is dealing with a lot of problem at home too. A lot. It's one way if you're a strong country with a strong economy, with a strong market, with everything going well, and you go kinetic wherever you want to go. Iran has a lot of problem right now within Iran. And I assure you, I can assure you that Iranian government today, they really care about Lebanon and the genocide in Lebanon. Whether they think it's the wise thing to start sending missiles to Israel right now or not, I'm not in the situation room with them. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know how they're being pressured by different creditor with China, people that
They're
they're
still
but
letting ships through. They're still letting ships through, Gigi. What the heck's that about? Like, close the goddamn strait and keep it closed. Do you know what I mean?
if I was in charge, I would have. But what I'm saying, look at the 2.5 months that they were, 3.5 months. The time flies like crazy. That they have been fighting with the mighty America and Israel. Look how they have behaved. They won, didn't they? Although they're not as strong as America, America militarily can defeat Iran on any day, any Thursday. They fought with the real with 47 years of sanction, with all the problem that they have. They fought really well and they won. So they are doing things, we don't see it, but I trust the people that right now are in charge in Iran. They're smart, they know their hands, they know what their weakness on the hand. It's like if you are running a hospital and you have lots of sick people and then someone attack you, there is always a choice of should you shut down the ICU and let people be killed, and because you're attacking the person that comes to the front and take the money from you? There is lots happening in Iran. There is lots happening. They need money. They're getting money. With that money, they have to buy the pieces, the component that they need for their missile, for drones. It's running a country that has been in sanction for 47 years. It's the only country that has been always talking and acting against genocide Israel for the last 47 years, not receiving any aid from any other Muslim country. They have been supporting the resistance in Lebanon, not having any help from any other country. Even the Pakistani, that they are the only Muslim country that they have nuclear weapon, they never sided with anything. They could have stopped the genocide in Gaza easily if they would have said, stop doing what you're doing in Gaza, or we exercise our right. We attacked to defend our brothers. They didn't. Look at all the Muslim countries around Iran. Which one of them did what Iranians do? And that's why many Iranians are not happy, actually. They're not happy. They keep telling their government, we are poor. Two generations of Iranian have gone through extreme poverty, extreme disadvantage, which you and I don't understand because you live in UK, I live in Canada. They keep telling Iranian government, we want our children to have one good meal. We want our children to feel what prosperity and good.
And Gigi, who's denying them?
Yeah, who is
Whose
denying?
hands have they been suffering for 40 odd years?
Yes,
The same
America and
people that they're
yes.
today trusting and saying, yeah, we trust you. Come on, stop them killing in Lebanon. Come on, we trust you. One more time, we trust you. The same America is the same America actually put them in this hardship. Like, I just don't get it. I mean, like, Iran has a choice. And if they say, you know what, no, we're going to keep giving this a chance because we want the deal and that's more important, and we hope and pray that eventually they'll stop bombing Lebanon, then come out and say that. Because at the end of the day, people are being killed every day, every night, every day, every night in Lebanon. And you keep saying there's no ceasefire without Lebanon, but yet you're not firing anything. So you're still holding the ceasefire whilst Lebanon is still being bombed. I understand what you're saying, Gigi. All I'm saying is Iran needs to make its position clear. Do you know what I mean?
Iran is dealing with a monster. When you have a monster and you're fighting with the giant that you cannot bring them down by yourself with your muscle, you have to put one pin at the time and tread that pin to the ground to keep the monster. Imagine they have to do that. They have to play a different game. They cannot, if they go all kinetic on war, they're going to be demolished. Do you want that? Do you want Iran to be bombarded completely and multiple other schools to be? They have to play it differently. And they have been playing it differently. We witnessed it. Yes, it's not to our liking. I like them to go and say, Lebanon is first, we're going to bombard Israel. But they see it differently, and I trust them. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so then Gigi, all I'm saying is if they see it differently, they should say how they see it. Because when they give the whole Lebanon first speech and then they do things differently, this is where like trust is being eroded. Because let me tell you something. If you look at the historical leaders that were assassinated by America and Israel, the Syed Hassan Nasrallah, the Ismail Haniya, the Supreme Leader Khamenei, what they said, they did.
Oh, well, I think Mojtaba Khamenei is also doing what he can. His entire family was killed in the first day, as you remember. His wife and his child was killed, but he's still operating. A man should have been mourning for it. I mean, imagine you lost all your family, your father, your mother, and he's still operating. So these people are suffering, giving some of them. I left Iran. I told you I'm not. I'm not. I left Iran in 1980, so it's not. I'm not part of that regime. I just see it from outside. I think they're doing it all they can, and we have to give them some power for doing all they can. I know Iranians are questioning them inside Iran. Why are we going? Why are we sending money to Lebanon when we need money ourselves? Why are we supporting Gaza when we don't have enough to survive? It has been hard on Iran. And yes, who made it hard? Obviously, America. Why? Because of Israel. Because Israel has all this string hold on all the American politicians, and they want Iran gone. They want Iran demolished and completely gone because Iran is the only country that is actually fighting with them. But I don't. I trust them. I think this is going to work out. And I think if the Israel doesn't
See
stop
the Gigi,
bombarding
I don't. So a lot of the
Lebanon,
things
they're
you're
going to
saying,
go at war again.
but Gigi, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I do think that Iran is in a difficult spot. I think they need to be commended for every single thing they've done. It's very clear that Israel. So all those things, I don't disagree with. The bit that I'm saying, which I know I'm right about, and first of all, I don't put my trust on any human being. So I know you trust the Iranian government, but I don't. I think people make mistakes, people make errors, people can be influenced. I'm hearing that actually this decision that was made was actually not even Iran's decision. They got basically encouraged by China to make the decision. So what you're actually saying probably is that you trust the Chinese a lot. I don't trust anyone. I think China is going to put their own interest before anybody else. There's now, I've been looking into this in quite a lot of detail, and actually China was in a way helping the United States of America out in this war, in the sense of, because China made sure that they got 4 million less barrels a day, they helped keep the global prices of oil down, which kind of went against what Iran was trying to accomplish by taking the Strait out. Point being, China is looking out for China's interest first, and then maybe they'll look out for their friends second, third, or fourth, or whatever it is. And so this decision that we're looking at, you're saying you trust the Iranian government, but the thing is, like what you're saying is, it could be that you're trusting China. And my issue is this, that I'm saying when you look at some of the decision making, I think it's been a bit wrong. I didn't agree with them doing the initial ceasefire, but that's fine. I understand there were some bottlenecks when it came to some of the military aspects. Currently, I do think that this is a bad decision. I think it is the wrong decision. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Maybe they will respond, and maybe there may be a reason why that response might be better in a couple of days. We'll see. Obviously, I don't like to see any loss of life that's happening in Lebanon. I do believe that's happening because of, specifically, I agree with the Lebanese journalists I had on now, that they are frustrated that they're losing on the ground. But the reason they've gone on the ground this time again, right now, at this moment. They would have probably done it anyway, but right now, this moment was because Lebanon stuck by Iran and jumped into this war to support them. And so I have this thing, where it's like this idea of loyalty. Like someone stands with me, I'm going to stand with them, even if it harms me, because they stood with me to protect me. So there's that aspect of it, that moral aspect that I've got. But okay, separate to that, maybe you're like, okay, you got to put that aside sometimes. Geopolitics is a lot more complex, and you got to look at a number of different factors when you make this decision. And so let's see what happens. But I think it's a bad decision. I think trusting the words of the Americans has been a folly. Iran keeps saying, well, we're doing it because we want the world to see that, you can't trust. Bro, the world knows. What are you doing? You're making the world what? Like, the world knows you can't trust the word. They've manipulated every single time they've said something. They've reneged on every single agreement that they've given. They've done all of those things. So I don't know what the utility in doing that is, where you want the world to know. I think really what's happened is, personally, I think the Chinese have pushed the Iranians into essentially not responding. And I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing them being heavily influenced by the Chinese.
You're 100% right. And Chinese are only there for themselves. Chinese play long game. We know that. They don't care about Iran or anyone else. But they have been doing a lot of projects and infrastructure in Iran. A friend of mine was telling me that now when you go to Iran, the airport is like you're going to Shanghai. That much Chinese are there. So yes, China has a lot of interest in Iran, and
Well,
China
not just Iran, every country.
everywhere.
They
And
funded a lot of money into UAE, Jebel Ali. They funded a lot of money into Israel, Haifa. So this isn't, and this is the point. So if you look at it from the Chinese interest, they're like, listen, we're funding all these different countries. We don't want you guys to be,
exactly.
So this is what the Chinese interest is. But the problem is the Chinese, because the Chinese I don't think they funded anything specific in Lebanon right now. So it's a bit of a different story. So they probably don't mind it getting decimated.
But this morning, there was a news that I saw in Kobesi that I know it was either today or yesterday that China also came out and told Israel, you have to stop. They actually told Israel that you have to
Larry said
stop.
that on our show.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
said he also revealed that was an exclusive he gave us a
S-
few days ago. He said that the Chinese and the Pakistanis said to Israel, like, you need to stop, or there's gonna be major problems. What did the Israelis do? They bombed again. Like, this is what I'm trying to tell you guys. Like, it's not like all these things are not working. This is the point I'm trying to make. So China, and this demonstrates the point I've always made, that I didn't think China would ever be a global power, because look, if they really did make this threat to Israel and Israel like shut up blood, they're not going to do anything about it. And you do need that military might as well to be able to conduct certain power dynamical moves, which are based on the power dynamic. And that's a good example of that.
Well, you're absolutely right, Suleiman. But all we can do is hope and put our hope on the people that didn't fool us yet. I'm not saying that everybody in Iranian government is a saint. No, they're not. Many of them are there for their own pocket, and they're enriching themselves. But in majority are educated. Majority are fundamentally and ideologically
See, I don't even agree with
pro-Palestine.
this. Like, of course, people are educated. I'm not saying that people are educated throughout the world, but my point is this: when you look at the success that Iran did, the success that Iran had, the biggest success and the reason why they've capitulated, US has capitulated, it's largely been because of the Sayyid Ali Al Khamenei and the IRGC and their ability to decimate the United States of America's bases, these Gulf states, and Israel. The negotiators, in my view, have not been responsible for those successes. What the negotiators have done, which is a success in my view, is when you look at the document, that is a major success by the negotiators. So the words that are written on the paper, huge plus, 10 out of 10. So 10 out of 10 in terms of the IRGC's military, 10 out of 10 in terms of what's written on the paper. But the negotiators, in terms of having the thing on the paper being effectuated, at the moment is 2 out of 10 or 1 out of 10. They made them remove the blockade, and nothing in the rest of that paper has actually happened. It's just written on paper, and nothing's been fulfilled. And this is what I always said. I said that document would never be fulfilled. And in the UN Security Council, irrelevant. Who cares about something being substantiated by them? And I actually agree with Hezbollah's lawyer, the one I interviewed. I think what they should have done is what he said, which is to put a huge amount of money in escrow accounts. And each time a violation occurs, some money goes to Iran and some money goes to Hezbollah. That would have been the way of stopping them from doing some stupid things. But anyway, that's a separate point. The point coming back to is you can see the different elements. So I don't put my huge trust in any human. I think humans can make an error. Negotiators can make an error. The IRGC can make an error. But that being said, despite me saying that, I think the IRGC has done a splendid job, 10 out of 10. The thing on the written on the paper, 10 out of 10. But the implementation of the paper, maybe 1 or 2 out of 10.
Iran cannot implement the entire paper. It has to be done by America. China has to force America and Israel to withhold the memorandum. Iran cannot
How?
just go and start the war again. They
No, how
have
do you, just on that, how do you force America and Israel to fulfill
well,
what's on the
America
paper?
is forced. You can see how it's forced. We just see the result.
No, you don't understand what I'm saying. So right now, there's two things that on the paper should have already happened. One is that Iran should have received 50% of its frozen assets. And the second thing is, and that's confirmed, Professor Morandi said that they've violated that. And the second thing is that Iran, the ceasefire in Lebanon. So you're saying Iran can't do it, that's fine, let's put Iran aside. How do you make them fulfill those two elements?
By have your allies and make more allies to put pressure on the country that's supposed
Okay, so who is the
to
ally?
make the
China? So I'm
well
China.
and now Europe is China is
Okay.
majority of not majority but a good amount of American public is pro that pro this ceasefire to hold. So these are all allies. They're not allies by signing,
And
but
that's
they
fine,
are.
but they don't. Okay, so just let's deal with each one of those elements. So the
Yeah.
American public, they don't care about them. They were against the war and they continued the war. They have no say in what happens when it comes to Trump's decision making. Europe, irrelevant, weak. China has influence. China, would they actually pressure America to pay? Possible, but we're not seeing that happen. Okay, so now Iran goes to China and says, please, can you tell America to pay? Please, can you tell Israel not to bomb? China goes to them, tells them, Israel ignores, America ignores, then what?
Then walk back to war, I guess. But we have to give it a few. We have to give it time. We have to be patient. We have to give it time,
But
a
that's my
day or
point. So you
two.
had made my point that because you said Iran can't implement what's on the paper, and now you're saying the only way Iran can implement what's on the paper is militarily. If their partners, such as China, cannot force the US and or Israel to abide by it. And remember, I mean, many of these countries themselves, China themselves, have always not been able to force America, and it's took them a long time to make America fulfill many of the promises America gave to China itself, never mind the ones they've given to Iran.
Yeah, but right now the economy in US need to hold. There is the election is coming soon. Donald Trump doesn't want the war anymore. That's the best ally of Iran. He knows that if he goes back
Oh
to
my,
war,
Donald Trump's not an ally of Iran. What are
no,
you
not
talking
ally.
about?
I mean, I'm not saying ally, but
Bruh,
it's
Gigi, what is going on with you, blood?
no, no,
Donald
no.
Trump
I
is an
don't
ally
mean
of
it
Iran.
like that, Suleiman. You know what I'm
Are
talking
you gonna
about.
give him the IRGC badge as well? I'm joking. I know you
No,
never meant that.
no.
It's just
I'm
funny.
just saying that
I know you didn't
if,
mean that. It was just a
yeah,
good joke to say at the time. But
no,
yeah,
I know, but I'm just saying that Donald Trump wants, don't you agree that Donald Trump, an entire financial sector of America wants a ceasefire?
I think
Of course they do.
um, so I'm not sure if Trump wants it because he's been making enriching himself a lot. In terms of America running out of oil, that is definitely the case. So that would be a reason why they'd want it. But can they force their masters to essentially pay up? I don't think they can. And if Trump really wanted it, why has he not paid Iran their money, which was part of the agreement? What's the reason for it? So if he's that desperate, if he's Iran's biggest ally, why hasn't the ally paid Iran their money at the moment? Like, pay me the
I
money.
didn't mean that. You don't say that. But
I know you didn't,
what?
but it's
Yeah.
fun, Gigi. I gotta make it entertaining. I gotta, you
I
know
know
how it
it
is.
is entertaining. Well, why he didn't pay the money? Because there are fractions of in America too that they are against this ceasefire. All the Zionists in America, which many of them hold a lot of power in the financial part of the game, are holding they're against it. You think that Jared Kushner is pro this ceasefire, for example, the family member, friend of Netanyahu, or many of them? Do you think even a part of Trump's family are pro this? No, they enrich themselves. But Trump knows that this is dangerous at this point, going back to war for the election and many other things. Obviously, there are lots of people that would want in America that this war continue.
Great conversation, Gigi. Great conversation indeed. And I didn't know Trump was your biggest ally. Now I know it's a totally different story. I gotta be more aggressive towards you now, Gigi. I gotta be more aggressive towards you.
Trump is for money only. So wherever there is money, he would be a friend of Iran if there is a Trump Tower license given to him. He will
Would you
be,
do you think
and
that'd be a good
it's
thing? Do you think that's
no,
good?
no, I don't think so. I don't like that. I don't think so. But at least Trump is clear. Trump is for sale. All Trump cares is money. At least he's clear. I mean, if you know your enemy, that's good. But with Israel and with Zionists, the financial Zionist power behind Israel, you don't know who you're dealing with. That's the dangerous thing.
So
With Trump,
Gigi,
it's
can I
easy.
be honest with you? Like, obviously, I was making it interesting because that's what I do. I always like try and counter people's opinion to make it interesting. But let me tell you what I actually think's gonna happen. Like, I don't think Israel's gonna follow this deal. I don't think they'll conform to this. Or the only thing that's happening by waiting is just more people in Lebanon dying. I don't think any difference happens by waiting a few more days. There's no way they can get Israelis or keep them under control. I think that Trump, even if he wanted to, he just can't do so. But I don't even think he's got the appetite to even fight or the ability to even fight the Israelis. And each time he keeps saying, I'm going to make them do it. And then within hours, they violate to demonstrate who's the real boss. And so I just think that he's disabled in the sense of having the ability to stop Israel. And this is why, as you know, Gigi, I've always said that I think that like it's gonna go back to kinetic at some point. When, obviously, I don't know, but when it will, but it definitely will. And so I don't think they're gonna succeed. And I think the only added point I'd say is the fact that Trump hasn't paid that money. Dem If anything, because then if he paid the money, then he said, look, Trump's actually fulfilling everything and it's just the Israelis, then we could be like, okay, it's just the Israelis. But the fact that Trump's not also fulfilled his part of the agreement, that's why I don't trust him. And I think the reason he removed the blockade is because of the desperation in terms of the oil market. And there's probably an agreement being made where Iran allows 5 ships out and US allows 1, and even that will just help solve their oil reserves or whatever it is, and the other can't not solve it, but help it a teeny weeny bit. And so I think that's why he removed the blockade. But the fact that Trump's not following the deal, you can't just, this is my point I'm trying to make. Like, I blame the Israelis, but it's not just the Israelis, it's Trump as well. Let's bring in Bruce into the conversation. Bruce, you were the biggest MAGA supporter, total MAGA. What's your thoughts? What's going on, Bruce? What's your thoughts about Trump? I mean, I heard you were one of his biggest donors. I think it was like you. Heard it was Miriam Adelson, and then like you were second on the list or something. But give us your thoughts.
I wouldn't. I wasn't a. I was a very reluctant Trump supporter. He was not my first, second, third, or fourth choice. I really liked pretty much everybody other than him on the Republican side. But as a last resort, because I thought that Kamala the cackling commie was bad. I did very reluctantly support Trump, and I did give him a bunch of money, and I definitely regret that. I knew he was going to be a grifter. I knew he was an authoritarian. I knew that he is out for himself and he's out to, line his pockets with gain. And I know that he is a narcissist. And I knew all of that going into even when I wrote him a big fat check. But I said, well, he has all these problems, but at least he didn't get us into a war last term, and he'll probably keep us out of war. Because the Kamala was flat out saying she was going to have war with Iran. And I said, well, at least he's terrible and he's going to grift and steal and he's a narcissist and he's divisive and he's stupid and he doesn't understand human freedom. But at least he won't get us into a war. And, I got rug pulled. He ought to write a book, The Art of the Rug Pull, because like I say, I was never a huge fan. I didn't like how he handled COVID and Fauci. He should have fired Fauci and not supported Operation Woke Poke and Warp Speed or whatever. And he should have. He should have
Fauci
done
was this guy, right?
Yeah. He put Fauci on the public stage. It's so weird how self-abusive Republicans are. I ran for United States Senate as a Republican, and I left the party the day after Massey lost his primary because there's literally nothing left in that party for me. I'm a person who loves America, and I want freedom and human rights and free speech and good economics. And I never signed up for Lindsey Graham, America Second, Israel First, sport of genocide, and the very best member of Congress, Massey, getting attacked. So I jumped out of it. The party is a joke. It really is bigoted now. It's funny because there was a lot of unfair. The media, to be fair, did lie about Trump. They've said unfair things about him. They've made up stories. Saying he said to drink bleach, for example. He never said that. Saying white nationalists are fine people. He never said that. He said I specifically am not talking about the white nationalists. So they lied, which is a shame because he does so many things that are actually bad. And it's interesting because they painted Republicans to be racist and bigoted, and a lot of it was a lie. But sadly, some of it's true, and there, especially on the bigotry side, there's a whole bunch of Republicans that have been fooled by anti-Islamic propaganda pushed by the genociders. Israel spends $1 billion a year to divide and make Muslims look bad and fool the dumbest of dumb Americans into thinking that Muslims are the enemy, so that the Americans will march off to the voting booth and vote for people who steal their own money and send our troops to die for genociders, so that a bunch of Israeli psychopaths like Ben Gvir can mass murder children and steal more land. And that would never work if not for the stupid American voters who are fooled by the anti-Muslim propaganda. I mean, they think that it's some war versus good versus evil, or the Bible told them, or whatever. And as time goes on, I mean, maybe you could have an excuse for this if it was, I don't know, a 1980 and you didn't have a computer, but in 2026, if you're still believing this stuff like, oh, the Bible says I need to support Benjamin Netanyahu, or greatest ally, or, good versus evil, we have to fight the Muslims over there or they're going to fight us here and bring Sharia. I mean, if you're still believing that stuff in 2026, I just don't know how anything can help you. I mean, it shows the power of propaganda and how effective the Israeli lobby is at spending billions to manipulate the absolute flippin' dumbest of Americans into supporting these forever wars and sending our troops to go and die for Ben Gvir and Netanyahu, and these wars of aggression.
And what's your thoughts about the Iran deal?
Well, same thing. I think I've been on almost every time for the other 9 deals, and each time I said the same thing. I said, no matter what we sign and what we do, Israel's insatiable bloodlust is never going to be satisfied. They look at Ben Gvir. Ben Gvir is the poster child for Israel. This is anybody who's listening who doesn't know him. Most of your viewers do know him. Look him up. This is the poster child. He's not an anomaly. He's not an extremist. He's exactly representative. And fortunately, there's some people who are not like him, but he's the poster child. He's the reference model of the Israeli citizen and the Israeli politics. And like him, millions have not just a tolerance toward death, they have a bloodlust where they love death. They love death and violence, and it excites them, and they are thrilled with it. And if that sounds extreme, go read Ben Gavir's tweet today and read everything he said for the last several years. He is an absolute psychopath in a nation surrounded by, unfortunately, millions of other absolute psychopaths. And yes, there are some great Israelis, and I've reached out to them and made great friendships with the small minority that is against this. There are some very good Israeli people and some good Jewish activists who are absolutely against these horrifying practices. But overwhelmingly, that's the problem. It is a nation of bloodlust. They just want to kill, and they're never going to be satiated, and they can't contain themselves. It's like, you ever see the movie Backdraft? There's an arsonist in there. He's a crazy arsonist played by Donald Sutherland, and he's coming up for his parole hearing. And Robert De Niro plays the fire investigator, and he comes in and he says, "You really liked burning that building down, didn't you?" And he shows him this doll that was left over in a building, and the guy gets so excited. He goes, "Yeah, I love burning it." So then they put him back in jail. That's that's the way the Israelis are. They just can't contain themselves. They, even if they know that it's better to just shut up and pretend to be normal civilized members of humanity, they just can't do it. They have such a bloodlust to kill all their neighbors and murder all the Muslims and expand, and it's an addiction. It's a true addiction and a bloodlust. They need it like they need air or water. And so unfortunately, this deal, like every other deal, like the other 9 deals, within 24 hours each, Israel violates every single time. There's nothing that will stop them until they're either stopped, the United States pulls all their support, or they're invaded or destroyed. They're just not going to come around and just become nice members of society, unfortunately. So you have to make a deal that's independent, that assumes that Israel will do what it has done again and again and again, will always do, which is they're going to just keep killing Muslims until all the Muslims are gone. And there's 2 billion Muslims, so I don't think that's going to work. So, there is no deal that's going to work for these guys. They're always going to violate it. And, maybe this kind of tough talking, 50% of me hopes that Vance and to some degree Trump are telling the truth when they talk angry at Israel. But 50% thinks that it's just a ruse, like everything else. They're just doing it to try and salvage their ridiculous reputation of being simps, and that they're trying to save the midterms, and that they're going to go right back, just like the Democrats do, where it really matters. And when it comes to the funding and the support, they're just going to keep supporting this genocidal, mass murdering ethno state. So, that's the problem. But even if they're telling the truth and Vance really is angry at Israel and they're kind of getting fed up with this psychopathic behavior, then maybe them violating it again and again, and then this happens again in 2 weeks, and they say, okay, well, now we really, really have a peace deal, and Israel, you better not bomb people, and then 15 minutes later, Israel bombs people. Maybe, just maybe, that'll wake up enough Americans, and eventually our country will come to its senses, and even these ridiculously propagandized people will start to realize that maybe it's the Epstein crowd that's not the ones you should trust, and we pull our support. And if we pull our support, they'll collapse. It's really funny to see the Israeli influencers all whining and crying like, who do you think you are telling us? Who do you think you are? We're the ones that make you exist. We're the ones who send our billions and billions of dollars to go fight for your wars. We're the ones who send our troops to die so that you can mass murder babies and expand your country again and again and again. We're the ones who fight the entire world, have the whole world hate us because of our support of you. What do you mean, who are we? Who are you? Go off on your own. Leave us alone. Stop taking our money. Stop stealing our taxes and go take a hike. See how well you do in the Middle East with the whole world hating you. Oh, we're surrounded by people who hate us. Yeah, because you're assholes and you bomb everybody and you kill all your neighbors. Of course they hate you. And without us backing you and without us sending our troops to go and die for your bullshit, you'd get flattened just like you flatten everybody else. You'd finally have the just reward and what you deserve, which is to be invaded and flattened into a ground. There's never been a country that I've seen in my life who deserves a smackdown more than these people. The most arrogant, insufferable people I've ever seen. They're completely lusting for blood, lusting for violence, and they need to be smacked down like a dog because it's the only thing that apparently they'll understand. They can't act as behaved members of civilized society. And unfortunately, maybe that's the only thing that'll make them come to their senses. Maybe if the United States stopped being the big brother that protects them in all their war crimes, and we backed out and took care of our own problems in our own country, like the human feces in our streets and a million other problems. More people got killed by gangs last night than got killed in Israel. We got our own problems. We should mind our own business and let these jerks go and deal with their jerky stuff and deal with the consequences that they can. And they can, FAFO, and they can go and keep invading all their neighbors. And without Big Brother United States saying that we're going to, nuke you if you bother Israel because they're the, chosen people, then maybe Israel would come to its senses and realize that starting wars with having enemies of 30 different people around you is a bad idea. And maybe they would actually come to their senses and have peace, or maybe not. Maybe Turkey would come in and flatten them and give them a real lesson, and they could see what it's like to have, they're the most fragile, sensitive people in the world. Maybe if they got a taste of their own medicine, they might realize that playing these games of mass death are a bad thing that's destined for something horrible. I hope not. I wish they would just come to their senses without it. I wish that they wouldn't need to have violence happen to them. I wish they would come to their senses peacefully, but whatever, it's not our problem. And I wish the United States would just pull out of it and leave them on their own.
Yeah, totally agree with what you said. But yeah, I don't think it happens really, but let's see.
Someday it'll happen. It's not going to keep going forever. This experiment has failed. The idea of an ethno-state based on a religion is a stupid idea, and it's not going to work. And one reason at the very core that it's stupid is shown by Ben-Gvir, because if you say that you're a special religion and you have this special state, inevitably the people who rise to the top are going to be the people who think that you're better and chosen by God or whatever, that you're better than other people. And Ben-Gvir said it perfectly. There's a phrase in Hebrew that says something like 9,000 to 1 or 10,000 to 1 or 1,000 to 1. Basically, there are a lot of people who believe that their lives are worth 1,000 times more than others. And Ben-Gvir said it. He said if Israeli mother weeps, he wants to make 1,000 Palestinian mothers or Lebanese mothers cry. They believe, oh, you kill 100 of us, we're going to kill 100,000 of you, or 1,000,000 of you, and that is just that's a master race kind of superiority complex, which has shown itself to fail again and again and again in history. It's an experiment. It was a stupid idea. It was ridiculous that the British or whoever and the terrorists who created it 78 years ago came up with this stupid idea. And now we've seen what happens. It fails because you end up with people like Ben-Gvir and Benjamin Netanyahu in charge, and they become extremely violent, and they're going to keep becoming more and more violent. So I think that it will eventually come around. Eventually demographics alone, it's only baby boomers, it's only tribalist Jewish people who have been sadly brainwashed by their families to think that this is some kind of religious duty, and baby boomers and conservative baby boomers in red states. Those are the only people left in the world that support Israel. And the baby boomers are dying off. And even the Jewish people are starting to say, oh, whoa, wait a minute. I don't want somebody murdering and smearing my name. And they're starting to feel it with, there's business people who are like, well, I don't know if I want to deal with Jewish people anymore because 89% of them support a genocidal ethno-state. So the Jewish people are starting to say, well, geez, wait a minute. I was taught that this is my, heritage or something, but I don't really agree with this, especially those on the left. They're in a really pickle because Jewish people have historically been Democrats, and the Democrats are overwhelmingly against it. So they're losing they're even losing American Jewish people. They're losing conservatives, and they're losing baby boomers from simply demographics. 6,000 of them die a day. And all the young people are not falling for the same old stupid propaganda. The young people are just not dumb enough to believe in this Marvel Avengers movie kind of propaganda. Oh, yes, we're the good guys and we're your only ally and we're fighting the evil. Yes, please send us 200 billion. No, nobody's dumb enough to fall for that, other than people who've been glued to the TV since, they were little children watching Walter Cronkite. So the experiments failed, and they're going to, it's over. The gig's up. If they're never going to put the toothpaste back in the tube, nobody's going to be like, oh, wow, maybe I was wrong. Maybe they are good guys. No, they're not good guys. The whole world's seen their evil. They stepped too far. They should have quit while they were ahead. A year ago, they could have just kind of quietly like, all right, cool. We did enough genocide for now. Let's chill. But now they've pushed so far, so much. They're even losing the MAGA people. So I think it's inevitable. And once the U.S. support is gone, they're gone. And the Israel, as we know it, hopefully it'll be a peaceful transition, and they'll just change the government radically, and there won't be a lot of bloodshed. But one way or another, the Israel as we know it is gone. The experiment has failed, and I think that it won't exist as we know it in maybe as little as 5 years or less, but certainly 10 or 15. It's writing's on the wall.
Yeah, I hope you're right. Because I agree with everything you said. I just, these oppressive people have always been around, and I think they'll always try and manipulate the public in order to get what they want. But great points there, Bruce.
Thanks.
March, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for giving me the mic, by the way. It's my first time with a mic in here. And shout out to Andrew. I post a lot of repost a lot of his stuff, commenting on a lot of his stuff. So like, no offense to anybody, okay, but all I really hear and going on in like the spaces and on social media, we have access to like all this communication, like all this technology to be able to organize, and like nobody's using it to organize. And so I know that I know what the problem is, and literally I want the last 20 minutes back because I learned absolutely nothing. I just came in 20 minutes, so I'm not just personally, attacking Bruce, but like it's everybody. Everybody's just they're complaining and complaining, and the main theme is somebody else please do something about it. Okay. And the thing is that these pedophiles there are pedophiles. Okay. There are pedophiles. They're running our country, and we are begging Iran to stop the pedophiles. We're begging Iran to stop Israel. And then you've got all these people in our country going, we should cut off Israel. We should cut. Look, you're not accepting facts. The fact is that Israel owns our government. Okay. They're literally about to make it official on paper that Israel owns our government. They're not going to turn on Israel. Okay. All these people that are running around, oh, JD Vance, he's so base. Trump, he's so base. Give me a break, man. This is, I've watched this for 33 freaking years. Okay. Every 2 years, every 4 years, all the promises made. And now we got midterms coming up, and they think that and they probably are right. They think that they can make the American people have complete amnesia, and then they will, somehow win the midterms, I guess, because they're probably going to rig that too. Israel wants Trump in there because he's going to keep on going. And they want to make sure that Trump doesn't get checked by the left. I don't even know if it matters, right? Left, right, whatever. But the fact is that we're not we should be, if we want to fix this right now, we can fix this like right now. Okay. Like 10 million, there's at least 10 million of us, okay, that are pissed off, that are tired of being ruled by pedophiles. I want to go right now. Okay. But what good am I, like, with one cardboard sign in just all by myself in front of the White House? Okay. And if we just had 10 million people in DC, extended duration camp out, we're not leaving until all the pedophiles resign, then I mean, what are we talking about? I mean, why are we talking?
So let me just say something here, 15 days. I appreciate your take on this, right? So the first thing you said is that everyone's asking somebody else to do something or expecting somebody else to do it. I remember when the Gaza genocide started, right? And those of you who were with us from October the 7th onwards will remember this. There was one guy in Japan on his own with a sign, and he stood there day and night, literally a one-man movement in Japan, which grew into a movement eventually over the period of 2.5 years. But that one guy who stood there in the rain holding a placard, he made international news eventually. Initially, it was Oz posting about him, right? Gigi, remember, she's saying 100.
Just
What?
depending on one guy to go to
Wait,
Washington and hold the
no, don't
sign?
interrupt me. I listen to you, so don't interrupt me, right? So what I'm saying is he decided, right, that he was going to take action, and he was going to stand there with a placard, and he was not going to rely or expect anybody else to join him, which is the first thing you said when you came on here, and then you ended with, but I'm just one guy. I mean, how long can I stand outside the White House? Why aren't 10 million people joining me? Go and stand there with a freaking placard. Why do 10 million people have to join you? Be that Japanese guy. Go do it yourself. That's what you're talking about. What?
I want to stop the pedophiles. I want to get the pedophiles out of our government. And
Yeah,
me,
well,
all by
go
myself
stand with
in
your
Washington.
placard and stand
That's
there
not
day
going
and
to
night
happen.
and say pedophiles leave our
That's not
country.
going to
Start a
happen.
movement.
it's not going to happen. One guy. Why can't we all just go? There's so many people pissed off
But then,
online. Why
so
can't
then,
we all just go and
so oh
stop
my God.
this
So then,
madness,
so
man?
then, for
There are
15 days. So then when
pedophiles,
you come
man.
on, wait, don't swear in our space. So then when you come on and say, why does everybody expect somebody else to do something? Don't use that statement, because that's exactly what you're doing. You're saying I'm
saying
expecting
I'm
10
ready
million
to do
people.
something. I'm saying I'm ready. Who
Oh my
else
God.
is ready?
Am I just speaking a different language?
Hey, so
Yes, he
can you
doesn't
name the
understand.
No, you're
pedophiles
right.
in our government? Can you give like even one name?
What's that?
Wait, don't wait, Manko. You can have that question in a second because then it's just going to be about someone else.
Yeah,
Beatrix, I think
I'm
you're
sort of
making some.
amazed that the
Beatrix, you're
country of
making some good points. Do you want to continue with this? Because it's very
yeah,
funny.
you
He
were
was
doing
like, "Oh
your
yeah, that
cooking.
guy's been
Can we
talking for
just
20
hash this
minutes,
out for
and
a
he's
few
just been
minutes,
talking."
please?
And then when you said to this guy, "Okay, do you want to do some action?" He's like, "No, I gotta wait for 10 people. Like, I gotta wait for 10 million people before I do something." But go ahead, Beatrix.
Yeah, like literally, you've come on and said
I'm not looking to
everyone's.
just keep myself occupied. I'm not bored, man. I want to fix the
You
problem.
cannot substitute volume for thought.
Oh,
Okay, sorry. I'm just
That's a good one,
frustrated,
David.
man, because you're not getting the point. I want to fix the problem. Okay, me,
okay.
one guy
No,
by
look,
myself,
Mitch,
does not fix the
Mitch.
problem.
Do you know how often one guy has started a movement? Do you think that when Henry David
Oh
Thoreau
I'm
sat in
done. You
jail
guys
for
are
not paying a
cowards.
Mitch,
Bye.
calm down, easy, easy. Don't substitute volume for thought. Do you think one guy sitting in jail, Henry David Thoreau, didn't start a movement? Do you don't think that one guy sitting under a Bodhi tree didn't start a movement? I mean, the history is rife with example after example of people who inspired everyone else, just like a real life example that Beatrice gave you, and you just threw it away. You just don't even understand the point. At least admit the logic of the point. Sitting there
He
and
left.
waiting.
He left, David. He's
Yeah,
gone to find 10 million people. Listen,
right.
I gave him a
Right.
beautiful example. That guy in Japan inspired people across the world, right? One man, what he did not do was say, I can't go and hold that placard because I need 10 million people to
And you
join
know,
me.
for whatever people think about it, there was a woman that stood out of George W. Bush's plantation or whatever the hell he's got in Texas every day because her son had died needlessly in the war. And she drew a lot of attention and she got a lot of people talking. And I'm sorry, listen, Gandhi said it right, be the future that you want to see, or wow, I'm sorry, I'm paraphrasing, but that's the way you do it. I will say this though, I want to correct you on one thing. You're not going to be very effective by saying we're against the pedophiles. I don't think you're going to have like a countervailing group of people going, no, we're for the pedophiles, right? No, 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 no. It has to be against Jewish supremacy. The 90% of all these people live either in Israel or America. So I'm not surprised that there are protests outside of both of those countries. But if you're not, if you don't understand what transcends all of this, well, when you talk, I think you just mentioned the legislation, Mitch, that they're about to pass or trying to pass, where we're basically giving military sovereignty or military techno sovereignty over America to Israel, right when their popularity has plummeted. Why would they do that? Because clearly we are winning in terms of this great awakening. You think nothing is happening, but something is. You think that spaces like Suleiman's and others are not having their effect. I view this now. I am watching them like criminals making a mad dash. They're robbing the jewelry store. They hear the sirens coming. They know their popularity is plummeting, and they know they're. It seems to me, and I'll pose this as a question for Beatrix and Suleiman, like they're trying to get all they can get now. They're cashing in their chips. They're using every lever, every mechanism of power they have now to get everything they can. They just now openly called for genocide in Lebanon. And of course, we saw it in Gaza. And now we're seeing popularity plummet in terms of just the overall relationship between America and Israel. So doesn't it seem like that they're operating out front in front of everybody in this desperate move to get everything they can because they know that the end is coming once that popularity reaches a critical low point? What do you think about that, Suleiman?
I think Suleiman had his take of that screeching guy and is probably gone to
Well,
take
what do you
a
think,
break
Beatrix?
from
Doesn't
him.
it seem like, I mean, who was it, Ben Gavir, that said that they needed to wipe out Lebanon? What was the phrase? He just said that they needed to wipe out Lebanon, and it
Oh
just.
my God, David, you know what you could do? Literally a tally of the most genocidal statements Ben Gvir's ever made, and it'll be one after the other trumping each other. Like, and excuse the pun, but that guy is just, I'll think, wow, literally, wow.
But and I hear this from Americans. I hear them say this sometimes, and I do respect or admit the point. I don't care what happens over there. I just don't want to be associated with anymore. But if they're going to wipe out Lebanon, they're going to do it with what we've given them. You handed them the gun. You loaded the gun. You handed all this to them. When you watch a genocide happen, I don't know that if we can sit by and just watch that. I mean, there's children, there's women, and we keep watching this over and over again, and every time, you know, all for evil has to accomplish is for good men to do nothing. But there's more to it than that. We sort of lose our national soul by watching a genocide happen. So it's really frightening that we're hearing now openly genocidal statements. We're seeing it happen in real life, and also the Greater Israel Project is no longer a conspiracy. So what are we left to do? Just step away? Are we left to just break ties? Or do we have to say, I think we should actually go defend the Lebanese?
Yeah, but you know what it is, David? I'll say this, and then I see Gigi and the other brother Hassan's hands up, but I see our brother Hassan's also joined the panel, so welcome. And Victor and Kendall, if you'd like to talk, please put your hand up. What I was going to say is that it's one thing, and I get this sentiment, right? Completely get it, no disputing it. For you to say, and I appreciate that you're so honest to say, I don't care what goes on over there. I don't want us, as in America, to be associated with it. I don't want us to fund a genocide or anybody killing anymore. And then if we weren't associated with it, if we weren't paying for it, then, I want to have nothing else to do with it. That's fine. Except for the fact that that's not actually where your problem lies, right? Because you could stop funding Israel tomorrow, and then you'd be disconnected with whatever Israel's doing in Lebanon, in Gaza and stuff, except for the fact that they still occupy your government. And they don't occupy your government because you fund them. You fund them because they occupy your government. So that's the thing that is the crux of what happens to our countries. And it's the same for the UK, by the way. And I'm convinced after what I've seen in the last 3 years, freaking Europe doesn't even exist. Like Germany is completely, it's just completely a little pawn. Oh, guys, please don't do that. Freaking whoever did that, like whatever clapping thing and stuff.
And I
So
would say
yeah,
that not only do they occupy our government, but, and I want everybody in the room to take this to heart, the Epstein blackmail operation worked. I mean, it clearly worked. You can't have this kind of personality change like the people in our government. They've gone totally neocon again without that Epstein blackmail. I think that's reasonable to conclude, don't you, Beatrix?
you know what? I just think I don't know. I mean, I think Epstein's happened. Like, okay, it's come to light, and we know it happened over the years, right? But it's really come to light since Trump took office, and he said he was going to allow the files to be released and everything else. And I don't see any change. So what happened in the last year in terms of America acting and American presidents acting on behalf of Israel and all of this, it happened with previous presidents as well before people realized Epstein and what Epstein had done. So I don't know. Like, if I saw that, yeah, previously over the last 10, 15, 20 years, things had been considerably different. And now over the last year, a year and a bit that Trump's taken office, wow, America's really kowtowing to Israel, then I'd think, yeah, it's got to be the Epstein effect. But right now, I'm thinking, nah. Do you know what? I just think, and I actually think that, I think a lot of people are like, fine, whatever. You know what? You guys are, and when I say you guys, it's not just in America, right? I mean, we've had a fair share of people in the UK as well, and I actually think it was Global Network. And people are like, all right, okay, so holding them accountable for that is one thing, but then that doesn't also give you your country back because it's still occupied. And I don't think it's just occupied because of Epstein. When they killed JFK, Epstein wasn't there at that time. It's been occupied for a long time. So I think all these things are intertwined with each other. And at the crux of it is the occupation. And whatever it is, however ugly it is, you just need to face up to it and then try. Like that guy there, he needs to go hold that sign outside the White House, and he needs to do it for a long time. Let me go to, he tells, let me go to the other Gigi, and then I want to go up to, the other Hassan dropped. I want to go to our brother Hassan for his comments. But Gigi, jump in. Thanks for waiting.
Thank you. Going back a little bit in our conversation, I think when it comes to Iran not acting fast enough, we might need to take our cues from people like Laith and Hadi, who do not seem to be upset yet. So maybe they're more in on what's going on than we are. Um, and if they're not upset and they're in the thick of it, um, maybe we can show a little bit more patience too. I lose sleep at night, so I'm saying this as someone who loses sleep with everything that's going on, but I'm trying to have a better picture of what's going on with that. I think even Leif mentioned that he estimated 2 years before everything would get done on your podcast, Suleiman. Okay.
I think Suleiman's
What? 2 years
literally
for
just
what? 2 years for what?
For the conflict, for all the conflicts to be completed, was it the conflicts or was it for changes in government?
I don't remember that bit, to be honest. I
Okay,
remember him saying that we had him on about a couple of weeks ago, and he said Israel could only last about a month in Lebanon. So
I
we're
remember
getting a
that.
couple of weeks from that.
Yeah, I remember that. But he also mentioned something like 2 years before everything would be done.
Could be. I can't remember what he said.
Okay. The other thing I thought was interesting was you mentioned that Marco Rubio is supposed to be going to the Middle East to visit Bahrain and UAE. I think that's such a slap in the face to Iran and Saudi and all those countries. Iran, because technically Iran was supposed to be having these conversations with Marco Rubio for them to be considered official anyway. And that's not who they've talked to ever, so it's kind of a big slap in the face for that. And then Saudi Arabia and Qatar, it's almost like a message because they are kind of pulling back. That's how I read that. But I don't know. What are your thoughts for that? Maybe. Oh, one more thing. Are you speaking to Asin today still or no?
No, he didn't turn up. So I don't know if it's because he thought, because the time difference. Because my problem is this, that I basically go sleep when it's like in the morning in the UK,
Uh huh.
because I work on US times, and then I text him, and we said tomorrow. So now I'm guessing that because they're 2 hours ahead, he may have thought I meant Saturday
Okay.
because he didn't turn up. So that's the only thing I can assume, or he just didn't turn up, or the internet went out. All these things are possible.
Okay. So
So
if
I've
you
not heard from
remember,
him. I've not heard from him at all. So once I do, then I'll know.
Okay, so if you remember when you speak to him, can you ask him why did they stop doing the, everybody evacuate now in Israel thing or strategy when it came to their bombings? um, because that seemed to be effective. The same way that Israel tells Lebanon evacuate because we're getting ready to take over. Um, I feel like Iran was doing that at one point and then they stopped. And I'm just curious as to why they stopped that. That's it.
cool. Gigi, thank you. Appreciate you. Oh, and we dropped the other brother Hassan's gone, and I really wanted to hear from him. Okay, go ahead, Hassan. Thanks for joining.
Hey, thanks everybody. Appreciate it. As far, I think Gigi was talking about earlier, something she had mentioned was why does Iran keep sending money to Lebanon, whereby Iranians need the money, and the simple thing to look at it is that Lebanon is the forefront of this war, right? It's right at the front doors of Israel. It's kind of like trying to figure out why the U.S. keeps sending money to to Israel when its own people are starving, homelessness is through the roof, their debt over their eyeballs, their infrastructure is in shambles. They'll do what they can to continue to support, Israel in any capacity that they can possibly do so. Just wanted to highlight that point, and then just the MOU, like the memorandum of understanding. You look at this, and from day one, like it was set up just to fail. Like I mean, you look at the memorandum of understanding in the 14 points. And then you look at the idea of what Israel is trying to accomplish or what they're trying to do in that region, and their goal and their objective is Greater Israel. And these two cannot coexist, right? Now, one of them has to give. And you look at the map of Greater Israel; they want to take over Lebanon, Syria, all that. Their ambition is to expand. So why would somebody who has that type of ambition basically come out and say, okay, yeah, well, we'll support this peace agreement, and yeah, we'll have Iran take all these benefits and build up and be strong again, right? And so it was set up from day one to kind of fail. I think the U.S. is testing Iran, after the two conflicts, the two wars, the 12-day war, and then now this, to kind of gauge and see if Iran would still be up for negotiations, if Iran would still be willing to negotiate. And once they figure that piece out, while Israel continues to do its thing, that peace agreement or that MOU falls apart, and it's back to square one. And then the United States will kind of be dragged back into this conflict, and the war will continue. I think, in my opinion, Israel understands only one thing. Israel doesn't understand peace negotiations. They don't understand agreements. They don't understand certain things. Like, they've had an agreement with Egypt since what, 1973? And now they're talking about invading and bombing Egypt and Turkey and whatnot, right? And so their objective, sorry, the point I was trying to make is Israel understands, force. That is the only way Israel can be brought to the table. It's if it's either losing a war, if it's being beat, or defeat is on the horizon. That is the only way that Israel would come to the table and negotiate. And I don't see that happening at this point in time. I'll leave it at that.
Brother Hassan, thank you so much for calling me out. I agree with you 100%. I am one of those Iranians that I believe the more we do for Lebanon, the better it is. I was just pointing out the fraction of Iranians that are really under pressure in Iran and questioning the government. We really need desperately the medicine and the food that we don't have. So why are we sending? And that's how the monarchists are actually gaining popularity in some fraction of Iranian. As you may know, that my account was suspended because I go to everywhere and I call out the monarchists because they are really, really, really. I mean, I don't want to even name them. Anyway, I believe that if Lebanon is not in peace, and if Lebanese are not protected, we are not, because we are connected. In my view, humanity is connected. And I don't know if you know that Sadi's poem that is in the front of United Nations, in the lobby of United Nations that we all hate now, that says if a pain is inflicted in one body of a humanity, the rest of the humanity will feel the pain. I'm one of those. I'm from that school. So I really believe that Iran has to support Lebanon. I am supporting Lebanon any way I can. I speak anywhere I can. I go any place they let me speak. I speak against genocide in Lebanon. But we need more of the Bruce type of people, more of the David type of American in this in this panel. We need American to talk about to separate themselves from Israel. Israel is a monster. We know that. I mean, genocidal Zionist Israel is a monster, and I speak against it even in financial spaces, not only in spaces like Suleiman, and that's why my account was suspended, and that's why they didn't even let me to do another account for 2 weeks. I was just listening to Suleiman in YouTube, and I couldn't even send a DM to anyone. But anyway, I don't care. I speak my mind. I think if Lebanon is not safe, if the kids in the southern Lebanon, if the hospital in southern Lebanon are bombarded, we are all bombarded. I am bombarded in Toronto. I feel it. I hate it. But we need more people like David, like Bruce in America. because these are the one who actually feed Zionist Israel. Israel is a monster, but there is an embryo cord connected to America. If that cord is cut, Israel doesn't exist. We have to. I mean, I'm so glad when Bruce was talking. Unfortunately, he's not here. Tears came to my eyes because I thought, oh my God, this is what I was talking, Suleiman. If Suleiman and Beatrice turned two people like Bruce, I was going to ask Bruce a question. When did you think this way? You said that you were supporting Donald Trump. You actually wrote a big check for Donald Trump. When was it that you came to realization that this genocide is actually staining your humanity, staining your personality, your soul? When was it that you realized that? So, Hussein or Hassan, I'm sorry, I cannot see well. Hassan, I'm all with you. The more Iranian government do for you, the happier I am, the more I support them. I'm the one who go and stay outside in the cold or hot to speak against genocide in Lebanon. My son lives in Italy, and he has many Lebanese friends from south, from north. I raised my children the way to be open and to befriend everyone. As I said, there is a poem in the entrance of United Nations. If one body of humanity is attacked, the rest of humanity cannot rest in peace. So, and Israel is the one who is doing that, who is attacking the humanity. So yes, you're right. And I hope that Iranian support, I'm not in Iran, unfortunately, and I'm not very active, but I'm as much as I can be active. I'm pro Lebanon. Just thank you for correcting me. Maybe I misspoke. Maybe I said it in a way that you thought I'm against Iranian government helping the good cause. No, I'm not. I'm just saying there is question asked all the time in Iran, because I have a lot of Iranian that I talk to every day in Iran, if internet allows, and I know they're under pressure. I also many years ago I started a women's shelter in Iran, and I'm still supporting it. And I know how bad it is in Iran. It's not easy. People don't. When I'm sitting in Toronto in my comfort of my home, and you guys are sitting in US or UK or wherever, you don't understand how hard it is to be in a country that has been under sanction for 47 odd years. 47 years. Generation. And you don't understand how hard it is. People at some point, if you live through poverty and through not being able to provide for your family, you question, why are we helping other people? That's what I was saying. I was not saying it's a wrong thing to do. I was saying that Iranian government has a lot to deal with. Thank you.
I agree, and I wasn't, kind of pointing at you and picking at you, right? I was just trying to kind of show a different perspective. And I get it that a country who has been under sanctions for 40 years and what it could be. I mean, we saw the same thing in Iraq as well. You guys probably remember Marilyn Albright just said famously, like, killing 500,000 Iraqis or having 500,000 Iraqis die is not too much of a price to pay to send Saddam Hussein a message in terms of sanctions. So definitely, I mean, the pain that your people are feeling is something that the international community also sees and feels and sympathizes with for sure. Which is why you're seeing the momentum globally turn against Israel and what it has done both in Gaza, in Lebanon, and further what it's doing now in Iran. And again, it's only like these types of platforms that bring us together, people of like-minded, similar opinions, maybe perhaps even maybe different perspectives, so that we can learn from each other to experience each other's pains, and see. So
So
yeah,
I've
I
just
just want to
seen,
clarify I wasn't picking
so
up.
Hassan and
Yeah.
Gigi, I've just seen this, and I obviously it could be fake, but it's always worth having a conversation about it. So this is in the Financial Times, and the Financial Times claims that the frozen money, Iran's frozen money that's going to be frozen, it's going to be specifically to buy humanitarian and non-sanctioned goods from the United States of America. So it's essentially almost like the Israeli method where you buy American goods or American military equipment. Thoughts?
Are we
Yeah, they
surprised
were
though?
saying
Like
that earlier, by the way.
if you remember, like when Obama came into when Obama signed that agreement with Iran, what was the first thing that happened when Iran started buying planes, started buying goods externally? The 80% of the stuff that they were allowed to buy were goods made in America, goods made in the United States. We also seen, with Iraq, it's oil money. Yeah, it goes through U.S. banks and U.S. financial systems, and they've got to go get the money from the United States. So I'm not surprised that they're setting up the deal this way. I think they're setting themselves up for a huge payday if this thing was to even work out.
Yeah, but you get the point, right? So it's essentially Iran giving the money to the United States of America and getting American goods.
Exactly.
So America's benefiting from destroying Iran, bombing
Well, and
Iran.
it's very limited goods too, right? It's only humanitarian goods.
No, why would you agree with that?
I'm not agreeing or anything. I'm just
No, no,
saying,
not you,
and
Mike. I'm talking to Gigi and Hassan.
Well, you're asking me, but because I'm the only Iranian here. But well,
No, no, I'm asking you because you have complete trust in the government, so I want to understand why this
no,
is a good point. You did say that.
well, it's never complete. I don't have complete trust in anyone. Even myself, I make mistakes, Suleiman. That's very, it's, anyway. But let's talk about this sanctioned money. The money that we are talking about is the money that the Iranian government had all over the world for buying all sorts of things. A company in Iran will open an LC, and the LC would be paid through that money wherever. Most of it was in Korea, and they're all sanctioned. Many of them went to Qatar and Dubai, as you know, and they were frozen there. And for after Obama opened that sanction for a little bit, they were allowed to buy humanitarian thing, include meaning medication, medical stuff and food. But it had to be then, even then, it had to be approved by America, which basically didn't work. So whatever they wanted, any LC that was going to be open had to be approved somehow by someone. So now, recently, Qatar people went to Iran and basically gave Iran the entire sanctioned money that is under their control and said, we cannot deal with this anymore. Have the money, we'll give it to you from our pocket. That's when the $7 billion Qatari money came to Iran 2 weeks ago. I'm sure other people are doing it too. But Donald Trump has to have a win. He has to, I'm sure Iranian agreed because they don't care how they're going to be portrayed over, for 47 years, and I dealt with that as an immigrant outside Iran. For 47 years, being Iranian would make you equal to a terrorist, barbarian, uneducated, completely being dismissed because of the propaganda. So I think Iranian in general and Iranian government don't care if they win or not. If they actually win is
It's not
important.
about winning or losing, even though they have won. It's about selling your country out to Western or American interests. And so, as you know, Gigi, you've been in our spaces, there are some who believe that actually there are hidden deals between the Iranians and the Americans and this war was fake. I don't agree with that position. But if there is a deal where United States of America essentially Iran wants to be the new Israel, and so essentially US is gonna allow them to have their own money. Obviously, they would give Israel the money, But then they said that money that you're having, you have to only spend it on American goods, American medical stuff, or even American military equipment, whatever it is, but it has to be American. Then what's happening is that's a huge, it's not about a win, but it means America is financially significantly benefiting from going to this war with Iran. And you're essentially making a deal with America. And so again, once again, it just, if that's fine, you keep talking about 47 years of sanctions, and yeah, if they weren't, I agree with you, they are evil and barbaric. But basically, it's Iran not becoming, it's nothing to do with moralistic, and this isn't a moralistic thing. Iran just wants to be accepted by America, and this is them being accepted. That would be the problem with this. I do have a problem. So I do have a problem with that. I have a problem with allowing American corporations into your country, because there is selling out your country to American interests. Gigi?
Hi, yes. Well, I have a different view. I mean, the war, today's war in modern days that we are, is not as simple as going and killing and throwing as much military stuff that we can on the other one. There is also all sort of PR and all sort of financial instrument that is being used. It's very complicated. I feel if Iranians are sitting on the table with other countries, it's easier for them to slap the country that is calling them out than being excluded from. I think they really, in my view, if you and I have a disagreement and you completely deny me of any access to you, how can I even ever reach and hit you? Iran has been denied of any access to the financial structure of worldwide financial web. It has been denied. Well,
Yeah,
maybe
that you're talking about sanction relief. I agree with you that Iran needs to have sanction relief. That's not what the point I'm making. I'm talking about essentially being forced to. It's essentially basically what you're saying is you're okay. Were you okay with the Gulf states with the whole Abraham Accords? Because that's basically what it is.
no, I'm not,
Why
and I'm
not? Why
not, and
not?
and
Why
then
not? Why not?
this
They
they,
want you want to make deals. It's financial. It's so complicated. Who cares if you're making the deals? Who you're making the deals? Normalize. It's no problem. Who cares?
I don't think even this thing that Banco said right now. You were talking about
It's from the Financial
the
Times. I'm
sanction
the one that said
relief
it.
is the
I'm the one
sanction
that said
relief.
it. It was from Financial Times.
Okay, I don't trust that until I see it actually in action.
Yeah, I
There's
agree with that as well. But
so
I'm
many
asking.
FUD
I
all
so
over
Gigi,
for
Gigi,
everything.
quickly, because I think you're getting confused. So I don't agree. I don't believe the Financial Times as well. But the reason I'm asking the question is just to see what everyone's perspective is and to have some kind of conversation. And it shows that, like, and I want, like, for example, you seem to be suggesting that actually, if in the hypothetical it is real, you'd be okay with it. And I'm saying, I find that to be highly problematic. And so, if you're okay with that, why were you not okay with the Abraham Accords? Because that, again, is those Gulf states financially benefiting, financially going into the financial industry. You know, they're looking out for their own nationalistic interests. What's so different about that compared to this?
I'm not okay with that. Sorry if I misspoke. I'm not okay with America to to approve any way of spending the Iranian sanctioned money. No, I'm not okay with that. When did I say that?
Oh, cool. That's fine then. I thought you were basically arguing about how, there is Iran has been sanctioned and therefore they need to be back part of this and they need to make these deals with America. I thought that's what the whole argument you're making. So yeah, if you don't agree with it, then that's fine. We're in
No,
agreement.
I said they know that if they go through America, they have to go through that route, but they force Qatari to go to Iran and give them the seven, basically in an indirect way. Qatari went and gave them the sanction money and said, put us out of this misery, right? So no, they're not okay with it. Iranian are not okay with it. It's our money. It's not my money. It's Iranian people's money that has been sanctioned by US plus interest for years and years and years. And it has to be free completely to Iranian government to use it for Iranian people that live in Iran, not me. I mean, people that are in Iran. I'm not okay with it that
Yeah,
anybody put
I agree with you.
any condition on it.
I agree. Yeah, we're in agreement then. Mango, what were you gonna add?
Yeah, I was just looking up the source. I don't know why the archive site's giving me a pain right now. But so this is something that was said previously, where they said that they were going to give sanctions relief for, but it was going to be limited in that way to just humanitarian goods. And obviously, it's going through the U.S. so they could supervise it because they're the ones who are going to be doing the releases, et cetera. But I looked up more specific. So apparently, it's going to be $6 billion. It's going to come from the frozen assets in Qatar, and it's going to be in phases. So it's not all 6 billion at once. They're going to release like a little bit at a time over the course of 60 days. And then they said, obviously, if Tehran demonstrates appropriate behavior, et cetera, et cetera. And then it would be used, like you said, for humanitarian and non-sanctioned goods from the United States. So that it looks like what happened is Trump, obviously, this isn't what the MOU says, and this isn't what Trump says. But it sounds like when Trump got pushback, he went back and his advisors sort of said, no, we got to do it this way. And the bureaucracy is actually executing it that way.
This is, Manco, the same money we're talking about. This 7 billion was in South Korea, was sanctioned, and was sent from South Korea to Qatar. And then Qatari kept it throughout all these years. They were supposed to release it whenever Iranian government needed humanitarian stuff, food and medical stuff. But it had to be approved by somebody in America. I don't know what it was. I read it before, but now it escaped my memory. Anyway, that money is in Qatar, and it was a contention between Qatar and Iran. Qatari went to Iran 2 weeks ago, and that's well, many journalists covered that, and they gave 7 billion of their own money to Iranian government, and they said, "This is your money. Use it in what you want. We keep that." And so this is irrelevant. This money is already paid to Iran. But
Yeah, I don't believe that. I don't think that's true.
well, okay, but I don't know what I believe or not, but this was reported by reputable sources that I follow. But maybe
Reputable
it's
from where?
wrong. Maybe
From
it's
Iran?
wrong.
Because there's no way Qatar gave $7 billion of its own money to Iran. That just
Well,
didn't happen.
Qatar has so much extra money that gave your president the Air Force One, and nobody questioned that. So yes, they do. They have lots of extra money. I know I know
There's
Qataris.
no such thing as extra money. The concept does not exist.
Yeah, well, yeah, but they have a lot of money, and for their security, they will spend as much as they want to.
I mean, they got attacked a bunch by Iran in March, so and some in April. So if anything, they would take the money and use it for themselves.
They didn't. So there's a few points. They got attacked in early March, and then they got under manners. And I noticed the shift. If you remember, if you were on our spaces, I gave you guys the exclusive to say that. I don't even know when it was. I think it was like 2-3 weeks in, maybe 4 weeks in. I can't remember. It was definitely during the kinetic part that they had. And if you remember the space, I actually had sources that told me, and it was confirmed, and now you guys all know about it, that there was a secret deal done between Qatar and Iran, and after that, Iran never hit Qatar again. So that did happen. Gigi's right. In terms of the money, what she's saying is also right. I did hear this. I don't know if the money ever went, but I'm not saying it didn't either. But one thing is, it's not about them
It
giving
did
their.
go.
Yeah, I'm not saying either way because I don't know for as 100%. I always try and be like precise in everything I say, but I'm not saying it didn't either. But the point what Gigi's saying is, and she's right about this, the conversations that were being had is Qatar's got 12 billion, Gigi, so not just the 6. So this could be in addition to the 7. But what the conversation was is that they've got Iran's frozen money. So as an example, they've got 6 billion of Iran's frozen money. And a way of giving Iran the money without giving them the frozen element was basically to give them the 6 billion from a different bag. So say, look, Iran, here's 6 billion. That means they didn't give them the frozen assets, but they gave them 6 billion, so they have their money back. So that was kind of something that Qatar, the US, and Iran kind of had some discussions about. I don't know if the US ever approved it, but these were the discussions happening. So that's what she means. So it's not like giving your money, but that's how it would be. So in essence, it was still Qatar's money, but it wasn't like the frozen pool.
You're 100% right. But it was Iranian money, and they went and they actually took it with an airplane there, and they give it to Iranian government, but it's their money. And they said, if the sanction reliefs comes, we'll take your 7 billion instead.
Yeah, this is something that I think was reported by Israel, and then the United States denied it.
Don't you think and United States would deny it anyway? Do you trust anything that United States government put out? Donald Trump contradicts himself every day, every
Iran
6
trusts them,
hours.
Gigi. Iran trusts them. Iran trusts them right
No,
about
Iran
now.
doesn't. No, Iran is playing with them, Beatrice, right now. I truly believe they're playing a game, and they're. I don't think they trust. How could you trust a government? How could you trust someone that sanctioned you for 47 years
So you
and
know what?
bombarded in you when you were in negotiation with them in was it in Vienna? Yeah, it was in Vienna. Then the day that you reach an agreement, they bombarded you. How could you trust them? I mean, it's impossible. No Iranian trusts any word from government, American government.
Yeah.
They
So
did
Yeah, and
this to
real
us
quick.
from 53, Beatrice. On 1953, they took the one chance Iranian had for democracy. One chance. I remember my
you know,
grand.
I know, and Gigi, you know what? Go ahead.
No,
Yeah,
go
real
ahead.
quick
Sorry.
on the timeline. Yeah, so the last attacks from Iran on
Yeah,
Qatar
Manka, I want to
were,
come back to that 1 second. I just want to say one thing. Manka, I'm going to come back to you on that because I actually, on that 6 billion, I agree with you. I don't believe it has the 6 billion that was actually held in frozen Iranian funds. I don't believe that has yet been released. But Gigi, I agree. I don't believe it on Trump. But then you've got to think about the fact that, you know what? Play the game, whatever game you want to, close the strait, open the strait, whatever markets, whatever. But don't play with people's lives in Lebanon. Do you know what I mean? If you don't trust him, don't take his word for the situation in Lebanon. Be transparent about that. That's my only thing with it. I'm jumping, Manka.
all
Beatrice,
right,
if
so
they
the
play
last,
with Lebanese life, I'm the first one I would call them out. Trust me, I will not stand for that. No Iranian with moral will stand for that.
okay, so the last attacks that I looked up that Iran did on Qatar were on March 18th. There was a major attack where Iranian strikes hit a major Qatari LNG facility in Ras Laffan, and that caused Qatar to order Iran's attaches to leave the country. Then on April 1st, Iran fired 3 cruise missiles at Qatar, and Qatar said 2 were intercepted, and the third struck an oil tanker. Then on April 8th, Qatar's Ministry of Defense confirmed the interception of 7 ballistic missiles and several drones launched from Iran. And that was it because the ceasefire came in right around that time. As far as the sanctions, see, there was originally the JCPOA lifted sanctions. And I just read like a sort of detailed thing about this. But a lot of the money did not actually get released, including from Qatar, because it's held by banks. And Obama has, under the law, could issue waivers on the sanctions to allow banks to do transactions with Iran. But a lot of these banks were concerned that these are temporary waivers and they could be in the future punished for something changing. And of course, that's what happened, is that Donald Trump won the election in 2016, and then he came in 2017 and he reversed all of the rules. So because they were concerned that that could happen, they actually didn't want to even do the transaction, because their attitude was like, well, if I do the transaction, I'm not really going to get any benefit from it, but I might get a big problem in the future. So some transactions were done, and they did get some sanctioned money back. Iran did, but it was less than was originally anticipated, because there were a lot of banks that didn't play along because they were concerned about future sanctions.
So
With
just to
the new
respond,
stuff,
go
yeah,
ahead. No, finish your point. I thought you
yeah,
finished. Go ahead.
then the last point is, so Iran apparently has, according to this reporting I'm reading, $12 billion in Qatar, and they demanded all 12 billion of it back immediately upon the signing of the MOU. Qatar said no, we'll do 6 billion, and we'll do it only through the United States with the humanitarian relief thing. So it looks like that's the compromise that they came up with and went to the United States. The United States agreed with it.
Which is going against the agreement. In terms of the Qatar strikes, I remember, and again, we need to go back and look, that there were a number of strikes that went towards Qatar, and the Iranians denied it. So again, we need to check about that, because I remember there was a certain point within the kinetic part of the war where Qatar was no longer attacked, and this is why Qatar was involved in the negotiations very early on, and they became like one of the main negotiators with Pakistan by the end. But do you want to welcome
Yeah, the
House?
last
Yeah,
major attack was March 18th. After that, there were no attacks that actually did damage in Qatar.
yeah, and I doubt they were from Iran. Because I remember us saying some of these were false flags. Now we're looking back 3 months, you see, and so we're trying to remember which ones were false flags and which ones weren't. But I want to welcome Haz onto the stage. Haz, hope you're doing well. How are you?
I'm good, Sully. I'm in Bandar Abbas at the moment. Tomorrow morning I'll be in Minab. I've been documenting literal war crimes. Landmines have been abolished since 1991, and the Americans have dropped airplanefuls of these little landmines that look like tins of food. I've done a couple of videos. I'm sure you've seen them, mate. And I went to another place called Lamed. So the landmines is an issue. It's a huge issue with, like, I don't know how many people, I think it's, and the landmines explode in such a way that they literally vaporize the chest and the abdomen of the person. And then normally, because of how they explode, the skull and the head just flies off at an angle, or an arm flies off at an angle and just goes for like a long distance. But the torso just gets melted. It's like a guillotine for the human body because of the way that the blast of these mines are done. It's absolutely horrendous. I've seen, I haven't seen, because I haven't seen them, but I've heard the first witness, the testament of the brothers, for instance, who've got their brother's picture in their hand and what's happened to them and whatever else. Some people have been helping out as well. The shaheeds and whatever, the families of them. I went to Lamer today, which is the place where this new American weapon called PRSM, has been used. They fired 4 of these missiles that 2 of them came from Kuwait apparently, and 2 came from Bahrain, and they used the HIMARS system to deliver it. And they delivered 4 of these missiles in 35 seconds, 4 detonations. And between these 4 weapons, they had 180,000 tungsten pieces inside each one of these missiles. So it's like 720,000 of these things. Um, I think you may have heard about the gym that had a girls volleyball team inside it training. I was at that building. I've got some videos. I'm going to post them tomorrow. But literally, you can see the roof of the building. It's got hundreds of these holes going through it, but the steel structure itself has not been damaged by an explosion. It's just these bullets, effectively, these tiny little pellets, which are the size of, I don't know, not even less than a quarter of a penny piece. And it's round, and it's like a 2-2 pellet, or slightly bigger than a 2-2 pellet, and it's made of tungsten, and it's just cutting through flesh. I saw a kid that had one go through the bottom of his foot and then shatter the bone and then go through his other leg. And now he's basically in a wheelchair. But no one's talking about this Lamed thing and how this new weapon system is being developed. And it's, first tested. CENTCOM are happy as Larry about the fact that they've got this kind of weapon system that's being deployed and used. And all it is literally, I mean, there's 30,000 people that live in that village. There was 720,000 bullets. That's like 24 bullets per person. Over an 8-acre area is what this was fired at. The whole of that place is 8 acres. It's completely mad when you look at the numbers. So that's two warlike, weapons. The weapons that did need to be used. I'm in Bandar Abbas tonight. I'm going to Minab, where I'm hopefully, if we don't have any problems, going to be handing over some £13,000 that's been raised by friends and families of a person, which will be handed over to the government people over there to try and help alleviate some of the poverty and problems that are taking place over there. And I'm hoping that London doing this will mean Berlin will do this, France will do this, and other countries will turn around and send someone over to help with these kids. So that's what I'm doing at the moment, which is the humanitarian stuff. But I wanted to let you know, Sully, that I am absolutely heartbroken about every single death and bomb that I see dropped on Lebanon. It makes me sick to the bottom of my soul to watch what's happening in Lebanon at the moment. It literally is breaking my heart. And I remember when you were trying to ring me that night and I was trying to ring back to you so we can do a video call. I was at an event where they were outside the foreign office of the Iranian, what's it called? The foreign office. And there were speakers there saying, we do not want what's it called? A peace treaty. We do not want a ceasefire. We do not want anything of the sort. And the crowd was going crazy, and there was loads of. I think you may have seen some of the pictures. I put them in the group. A lot of Hezbollah flags. There's a lot of support for those people over there, and they didn't want the ceasefire. And I was supposed to be one of the speakers, if you remember. I said to you, I'm supposed to be going out to speak. I ended up didn't speaking because this parliamentary speaker was like a very heavy duty person. Ended up talking for like 40 odd minutes, and I wanted to get up and speak for literally 30 seconds. I just wanted to say, to the crowd that was stressed beyond stress, that, guys, there's no way that there's going to be a ceasefire that Israel's not going to break. And then we're going to step in. And at the moment, there's 47 dead, 90 plus wounded, and we have done nothing. I am embarrassed and ashamed that we have let these people down, that when this war started, when we were attacked, within 5 hours, Hezbollah was attacking Israel. They created two fronts. And I feel embarrassed and ashamed as a person who believes in standing up for your friends that we're not doing that at the moment. I really, I hope, and I really do hope that the government listens to the people, because tonight, in Inqilab Square, in Isfahan, there are crowds that are a lot larger than they were before, and they are stressed to hell about the fact that we're not doing what we've got to do by Lebanon. And I promise you that if it was up to the people, much like every other country in the world, if it's up to the people, we'd get this done. But because of people in government who I don't know what it is about these people that they cannot see that the only way to deal with Israel is you've got to dismantle their air force. You've got to dismantle their ability to be able to deliver the damage that they do. And the only way to do that is destroy every airfield and destroy every airplane they've got. And if you can't destroy all the airplanes, destroy every place that they can actually take off from. Because these planes, the F-35s, they're not planes that can be, fly and come back to land, fly. They have to land. They have to be serviced for hours on end. Like, if they do a 4-hour, 5-hour flight, a 6-hour flight, they've got to be on the ground for 24 hours, sometimes 36 hours. So that the amount of planes that are up in the air in comparison to the ground is, you could devastate them. You could devastate them on the ground. and we're not delivering the pain to Israel to stop them from doing what they're doing to Lebanon at the moment. And I apologize to every Lebanese person, and I apologize to every Hezbollah person that I feel ashamed that we're not doing what we've got to do for you.
Well, great point there, Hoz. And it just shows that you're an honourable person because I'm totally in line with you. Like, I've been totally on Iran's side in all of this because, they've been very moralistic in everything they've done. And I think that needs to continue. And I don't agree with this. Like, let's wait and see what happens and why people. And so I do think something needs to happen soon.
Inshallah, my brother. Inshallah. I don't think I've been saying for the whole of this day, and the thing is, I've been in a coach on a train on a coach, so I'm not in contact too much with everything. But really, we need to draw a line under this, and Israel and America needs to be split up from each other, and Israel's ability to do damage needs to be taken away. That's it. Their ability to murder people in the sky needs to be taken off them. Anyway, it's Habibi. It's 2:21 in the morning. I need to go to sleep. I always try and come and see you before I go to bed to catch up with you. Okay?
Beautiful,
Thanks for
beautiful
coming,
sentiments, my friend.
guys. Have your milk and have your little honey and go sleep and get some rest.
David, what did you say, mate?
Beautiful sentiments, really beautiful, heartfelt. And I agree with
Yeah.
you about the peace thing. I think of this, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Terminator, but I feel like the guy that comes from the future and says to Sarah Connor, nothing stops this thing. There is no compassion. It doesn't bargain with you. It has no human qualities. You stop it or it stops you, and that's Israel. There will never be peace. Their main export is genocide.
Yep.
So there's just
100%.
nothing, there's just the idea that we're going to expect it. And speaking as an American, I feel the exact way as you do. We're letting down the Lebanese people. We're letting down the children in Lebanon. There's still children buried beneath the rubble in Gaza. And that was accomplished with American weapons. So if you don't think that Americans feel every bit more of what you're saying, I mean, at least the Iranians are fighting against, at least the Iranians are fighting the bad guy. We're subsidizing them. So 1,000 times more we feel that way, as far as, gosh, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Thank you,
Thank you
David.
for what you're doing, Haas. It's so,
No,
so, so wonderful to see an Iranian fellow doing what need to be done. We admire you. We talk
thank you.
about you all the time in Iranian community. You are an
Thank you.
inspiration. But I have a
Thank
question for you. You are on the
Sure.
ground and we are not.
Yeah.
Do you do you think that the Iranian government, the people that are now negotiating, will not be able to actually have a ceasefire with an outcome that benefit both Lebanese and Iranian? Have you lost your faith on current Iranian government? Because I'm from outside, and I I like you, I wouldn't compromise Lebanon for
No.
anything.
No,
So
I haven't lost faith in the government. I have faith in the government. The problem we've got is this:
good.
Iran is walking a very tightrope. Okay, the tightrope is this: the government has to make sure, as Celia said before, we have to become like the moral side of things. All right. We have to give the peace a chance. It's not up to us to have these wars. It's up to other people to break the treaties. It's up to other people to break these commitments. So the Iranian government can only do what it's doing at the moment. They've signed up to it because the world has asked for it. The world wants to have this oil come out. The world wants the economy of the world not to crash. And I promise you that if the Strait of Hormuz gets closed and stays closed beyond the 17th or the 18th or 19th or 20th of July, America will crumble and will have massive problems because their strategic petroleum reserves will reach levels that are just not possible to keep going. They will have massive economic problems. And it's a cascade effect on the world economy. Where when America catches a cold or whatever they say or a sneeze, the world catches a cold, and that's not something that the world wants at the moment. So it's an important thing to remember that the world economy is the thing that Donald Trump is trying to save at the moment, and the Iranians don't want to be blamed for that. And I spoke to a member of the Foreign Office who's a high up personal friends on the right hand side of Abbas Araghchi. And I said to him, "You do know," because I actually turned around and I said to him, I said, I wish I had a minute to tell everyone in the crowd, you don't have to worry about the ceasefire. It's going to get broken. And I said that to him. And he was standing next to me, not today, but yesterday, a really high ranking member of the Foreign Office. And he turned around and said, "Do you really think they're going to break it?" I said, "I guarantee you they're going to break it. There will be no way that the Israelis don't do this. They're going to break the treaty, the ceasefire, because there is no ceasefire that they haven't repeatedly broken thousands upon times over. And they call it a ceasefire. They've hit Lebanon 10,000 times. They hit Gaza every day. They've put up these new cranes that are huge cranes with machine guns on top of them that give them, a height advantage to be able to hit anyone on the sea in Gaza to all the way at the bottom of the sea, of where that crane is. So they've got machine guns now. So they don't even put people in them. They just have a machine gun on top of cranes. They've got two of these things set up at such a height that they're able to shoot down into any tent they want, any time they want, and there is no danger to an Israeli soldier. That's the kind of weaponry they're using. And it is like a Terminator sort of levels of death. And every day, Gaza is suffering. And Gaza, everyone's forgetting about Gaza because we're talking about Lebanon. And Gaza's losing people every day as well. The point is this: if Iran decides to attack right now and there isn't enough blood on the streets of Lebanon, I think that the Foreign Office and the Iranians will get blamed for breaking this treaty. But as every day piles up and as every day more Lebanese people end up dying, then the Iranians are going to be asked by the world to do what they've got to do. And I'm not talking about government, I'm talking about the world sentiment of because there's people in my comments saying, why are the Iranians not attacking? But that's what the Foreign Office of Iran is waiting for. That's what
Yeah,
I
so
think,
I
anyway.
think the opposite of that. I think that
Do you?
yeah, in the sense of I think people are turning on Iran right now. They think that what, for example, today wasn't just one hit; it was sustained for hours upon hours of bombing and destruction and mayhem. That was a huge event today, and if a huge event didn't make them respond, then what? Small minor ones are going to make them respond in a few days. I think what they've done is they've essentially created a situation where now Israel can do whatever it wants in Lebanon. And this was my claim. Remember, if you remember, I said that there was going to be a trap for Iran, and this was going to be the trap. And I'm seeing everyone on social media now. They are turning on Iran. They are seeing this as a major problem. I know some people who are Iranian who are just loyal to Iran. Not you, because you said the opposite, Hos. But like who are loyal to Iran will be like making excuses. But but Iran took their time, and you just mentioned now how they care about the world sentiment. Well, the world sentiment is actually going the other way around. It does seem like it does seem like if anything, it's more of a selfish decision to not make this decision, to not go and help Lebanon right now in the worst level
Fully,
of attacks. Yeah.
can I just say that I don't agree with you wholeheartedly. Twitter space is like that, but the world sentiment is not the Twitter world. The Twitter world is the most. It's like the cutting edge and the knife of the reality of everything that we see. But the reality of the world is that people can't afford to have these high oil prices. They can't afford to have this kind of economy
Then don't shut the strait.
potential crash.
If that's your excuse, then don't shut the strait again. Then. But the whole point
Oh
is
no,
you're
no, no,
willing to shut the. Yeah.
Sully, first of all, I don't do anything. Yeah, I'm an observer like yourself, mate, and I get what you're saying, but I think personally that Iran is going to be in a position where it has to do something in the next 24 hours if it's sustained like this, and if they don't, then again, I don't know, I don't think they can't not do anything. You can't just sit there and not do anything because 47 people with the amount of bombing that I've seen that you've told me about, which I believe, then
But if
Iran's
the
got to
world
step in.
only cares about high oil prices, then why has the opinion against Israel turned so badly with Gaza? If that's all they care
Yeah.
about,
And
then
why is the
why?
world with Iran, mate?
No, no,
It's
no. David, listen. I get what you're trying to say. It's not about the oil prices only. Israel has destroyed itself and the victim card has disappeared off the planet. And this is what they used to use for everything. So, like, oh, Israel has the right to defend itself. They've murdered their way through hundreds of thousands of people that we don't know about because we can't even get journalists to go in there. We can't even get a census being done. That's why Israel is destroyed. It's nothing to do with the oil prices. It's their level of inhumanity. It's the level of, just cruelty. Every night you're watching Channel 12 and 13 and 14. How the guy is, one of the pundits is saying, I can't sleep well unless I see another building in Gaza blow up. It's the
So
But
just
mentality.
aren't you
now I'm
making the
looking.
argument
No,
of
but
why we should be defending Lebanon now? You're making that argument
yeah,
because if
I
exactly.
they're
have
on the
to.
Yeah.
I'm
run,
always going to be defending Lebanon.
well, I understand that, but you're saying that the world cares more about their oil prices. And what I'm saying is getting them on the moral defensive, where everybody, look, the fairy dust that Israel is anything but evil, that is what's sustaining them and allowing
Yeah.
them to keep that relationship with America. So this is the time. Morally, we've got to run. Every great battle, every great victory has a moral supposition. In the whole world, now we saw what happened in Gaza. If we connect what's happening in Lebanon with Gaza, but if we're not going to do that if people don't have the courage of their convictions. We're not going to do that if people say, well, Lebanon doesn't matter now because of oil prices.
Remember, Lebanon does matter.
Oh, yeah,
Lebanon.
right. But the point
Yeah.
is, we've got to force that issue, right? We can't. We have to
Well,
think
as I
more of the
said,
world.
I think, as I said, Iran is in a position where it has to walk a tightrope. The government has to walk a very tight rope. And also, the other thing that I've seen internally in
But
tweets
what's
and
the
other
tightrope?
things
Because
is,
Yeah.
that's the
What's the
bit that didn't make
tightrope?
sense.
let me just say this one point to you that apparently it seems like the supreme leader, Mujtaba Sayyid Mujtaba Khamenei, has not approved this peace treaty.
No, no, he has approved it. So his statement was this: that I don't agree with it. I went through this on my show yesterday. He said, "I don't agree with it. It wasn't my decision, but I am gonna cede to the demands of the president, and then he's gonna hold responsibility for it." Is
Okay,
essentially what he's saying. But what that
Silly, do you know
demonstrates
a
is
guy
he's
called Jalili? Do you know a guy called Jalili?
yeah.
Do you know what? He didn't sign the MOU, yeah?
I didn't know that.
So he didn't sign the MOU. When one person out of this group of people doesn't sign it, then you know that there is a conflict taking place. They
No, no. So
either all sign.
yeah, no, I
Yes,
agree
ma'am.
with that. I did a very long show on this about how the supreme leader doesn't agree with this. And it shows that he's not a dictator or totalitarian because he's basically ceding to the will of the president on this issue. So I agree with that. But the tightrope bit for the government is the bit where I'm not understanding your point because that's the
Okay,
bit
let me
what me and
explain it
David are
to you
trying to
one more
understand.
time.
But yeah, no,
Okay,
because you said
the
it's
type,
about
the
world sentiment and we're saying it isn't.
absolutely, Iran can't be seen the country that is doing the attacking. Okay, it has to be. We've given peace a chance. We didn't break this ceasefire. The Israelis are breaking the ceasefire. It's all on them. And what they're hoping to see, which I don't think they'll ever see, is a split between the Donald Trump administration and Israel, and separate the two, and then go to war with
But
Israel.
that's
That
what everybody is saying. Everybody is saying Israel broke the ceasefire. The world is very cognizant of Israel breaking the ceasefire. The people who aren't are the Fox News people, and they'll never ever have a different perspective anyway. But everybody's
yeah,
already saying that Israel broke the ceasefire. So I don't
yeah.
think, and in terms of
But
world
it's the
sentiment,
split. It's the split, Sully, that they're looking for. They're looking for a split between the American camp of this White House
that's not
Trump.
gonna happen, man. That's just drama. That's just fake
I
news.
agree.
Look at this statement
I
by
agree.
Trump. Okay, what was it? If so, what was Trump's two post today? He just threatened to
I,
attack Iraq and Iran again. So, and
yeah,
he was he's ridiculing Iran. So, I mean, you can keep dreaming and hoping that Trump's gonna split with the or US is gonna split with.
they're
Uh,
not.
I thought that was argument.
I know they're not. That's what I'm trying to tell the Foreign Office guy as well. I'm like going, it's not going to happen, and they're not going to separate from Israel. I mean, the dream situation would be for America, the American administration, and the Israelis to split up. And JD Vance, for instance, today was saying like, if I was the American and the Israeli cabinet, I'd shut the fuck up. And sorry, I'm swearing again. My apologies. And Donald Trump is saying, what's the effect of, you know you better be grateful for the fact that you're the most hated country in the world. If it wasn't for Donald Trump today, blah blah blah. That's just motions. I don't believe it. I think that's just people talking rubbish, or them just carrying on a charade.
But then,
That's
to me,
just
it
a
sounds
charade.
like they're playing Iran even more then, because the Iran is hoping, oh my
Yeah,
God, there's going to be a split.
yeah,
So America's outsmarting Iran right now. This is my issue.
absolutely.
I
I
actually do
agree.
think they are. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that Iran keeps thinking the best in terms of, like, if you look at it, I was explaining this on Sunday, Iran was going to attack Israel. Trump said, no, 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 don't attack. You know, we're going to give you everything
Yeah.
you want. And then on Tuesday, I think it was, or Wednesday, Iran was going to attack Israel again for, the 84 times. After they did
Yep.
84 times, they made a statement. They cleared the airspace. If you remember, I put a tweet out. They actually, and now we know
I
that they
couldn't
were.
fly to Shiraz. Yeah.
Yeah, and that now we know that they actually were going to attack Israel again. And Trump again jumped on the phone and said, "Oh no, no, please don't do it. We're going to get them under control." And so, and then what we have today is Trump's not giving them the released sanctions. So this isn't just Israel. This is Trump. Trump is also breaking the MOU. He promised they'll give him
Yeah.
50%. He didn't give him that. And this is Professor Miranda, who's part of the linked to the negotiation. So he'd be more trying to push the other side in a way. But he's saying they broke their own part of the agreement, and then Israel broke its part of the agreement. So I think they're playing Iran in two ways. One is saying that, oh yeah, 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 we're going to stop Israel, but they know they're not going to, or they can't, and we've seen that. And the second thing is in terms of this whole thing where they're making it look like there's a split when there's no split. I mean, if you look at Trump's two statements today, he literally said, he actually told you, he actually said, I'm playing them for 60 days.
Yeah. And listen, I know for a fact that Donald Trump's name is in that Epstein file. And I know that he doesn't want his name to come out. They can, this whole thing is based on that. And I don't care what anyone else wants to tell me. He is Israel's bitch. He will do whatever Bibi Netanyahu wants to do. That's it. And all of this is just games, motions that they are playing to do what? To try and stabilize the oil
But
price.
Hussein,
Nothing
the
else.
MOE actually enables Iran to defend southern Lebanon against Israeli aggression, right? I mean, there's
Yeah,
this,
it does.
it enables them
Absolutely.
because it says, in fact, it gives them a diplomatic defense after doing
Yeah.
so. Because it says
Yeah.
in the MOA, it says the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran and the allies in the current war declare the immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including in Lebanon. So who is
Yeah.
breaking that? It is obviously
Absolutely.
Israel, right?
I agree. I agree.
If I
Right.
could weigh in here.
Can I just go to bed? It's 2:37. I love you guys.
Yeah, yeah, go
And
sleep, Lars.
I need to go to sleep.
Have
I
your
need to
ice
be in
cream.
Minab tomorrow morning. Yep, I'll get my ice cream. I'll
Like
catch up
that.
with you guys tomorrow, inshallah.
See you later,
Okay?
brother. Look after
Thank
Good
yourself.
you
night. Take
Great
so
care.
much,
conversation.
Haz.
No
Stay
problem,
well.
darling. Thank you. Have a great day.
Jump in with your thoughts. What were you going to say?
Yeah. I think I'm just speaking from an American perspective, of course, only for myself. I haven't polled anybody, taken any votes or anything like that from other Americans. But rhetorically, we've already seen a split between Trump and Israel. Rhetorically, maybe not in the post today, but in the post prior to and surrounding the signing of the MOU. The message that's going out to the MAGA boomers is critical from Trump of Israel and Bibi. Okay, not every statement, not enough, not enough to convince me that he's not in the Epstein files. I agreed with saying that that's probably the case, but we are seeing a rhetorical change and a change in the narrative, at least in this country. That's my opinion. Two, it is not Iran's duty to defend Lebanon. They can, right? And as the point's just been made, the MOU enables that defense within the construct of the quote unquote peace deal, but they're not bound to do that. And I don't think it's fair to make an ethical or moral attack on Iran for not doing that. There's a whole host. The entire world had ignored what's been going on in Lebanon for years and what's been going on in Gaza. So I don't think this is fair to criticize Iran by saying, well, they got theirs, meaning they got their oil flow, and they in effect got a way to monetize the traffic through the straits. But I think that Iran has stood well in public opinion, a world opinion, by letting them selves be attacked and not return fire to the same measure. And I think the condemnation of the world, we've seen it, Sweden and other countries, Italy, France, have come out in the last week on a national basis and condemned Israel. Here it was the United Auto Workers who voted to stop supporting any Israeli industry, what have you. They're withdrawing their investment in Israel. So I do see a change coming. This is a war that's been going on for in one frame or scope for thousands of years. It's based on religious and ethnic differences, and those differences aren't going away. But to suggest that because there hasn't been 1,000% enforcement of the MOU, that somehow we're not seeing progress to the point where it almost seems like some are urging on Iran to attack Israel directly again. And
in southern Lebanon.
well, yeah, in yeah, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about Iran being condemned in some fashion in the last 20 minutes that I listened to the conversation. That Iran's not doing enough, it's their fault, and so far that they should be judged harshly. It's not their job, right?
Well,
And the fact that
man,
the fact that they've gone as far as they have, I think is commendable. I mean, all Saudi Arabia has done,
Wait,
for
how is it not
example.
their job? I don't get it.
I'm sorry,
How is it not their job? It wouldn't be their job
a
if,
separate country.
well, the issue is, so if for example Lebanon didn't jump into this war in defense of Iran, then yeah, I would say it's a separate country. And if Iran was going to be
They jumped into this war in defense of themselves.
no, they didn't.
I'm talking about
No, they
Hezbollah.
didn't. They jumped in 6 hours after Sayyid Ali Al
They
Khamenei
were
got killed.
shelling. They were shelling northern Israel and have been for a long time.
No, they weren't. So there was a ceasefire. So from 2024 to
Mm,
2026,
I've seen the reports, so I'm not
yeah.
quite sure how to take that.
No, so what happened was 24 to 2026, Hezbollah and Israel had a ceasefire. Hezbollah stood true to that ceasefire and never ever fired at Israel. Israel continued to bomb Lebanon
Hmm.
during that period of time.
Yeah,
Similar
yeah.
to how
They're playing the martyrs here, and they're playing the narrative game.
no, 1 second. So I'm explaining to you what happened. So
I I
so then
understand.
what? So it's similar to how Gaza. So Israel used to bomb Gaza before October the 7th, 2023, but the level of bombing on Gaza exponentially, horrifically increased after October the 7th. And so with Lebanon, they would strike Lebanon every day. It would be a small attack. It would be casualties for sure.
Yep.
But as soon as Sayyid Ali Al Khamenei got killed, that was the first time that Hezbollah then rejoined the war in order to protect Iran to open up a new front against Israel after Israel continued to bomb them on that entire period of time.
Yep.
And so I do think that there is a moralistic duty that if someone jumps into a fight with you or for you, you don't be like, okay, you know what? Like, it is what it is. Like, either you tell them not to jump in because you're going to look out for your own interests later, or if they jump in, you have to protect them.
You don't. Once you start to help somebody, you don't have a continuing duty or a right, in my opinion, to condemn that person morally if they don't continue the fight. Everyone has their own self-interest. Like if you and David are going at each other in a fight in the street, and I weighed in, I took a couple punches and decided, wait a minute, this isn't my fight. I'm going to step back for a moment because I have my wife and my children and my family behind me here in the street to protect first. Right.
So
I
if
think
for
No, no.
example, no, no, but
I
that's
think
not the
the
right,
condemnation
that's
of
not
I
the
think
right
the
analogy. The
condemnation.
right analogy would be,
Well,
for
that's my
example,
analogy.
no, but that's the right analogy would
And you can
be,
disagree with me, but
no,
you
but can
can't
I just,
pronounce that I'm right and you're
I'm
right
not
and I'm
saying
I,
that,
wrong.
w- I
don't
would
get
use Doc
emotional.
as a
I'm
human
explaining to
shield.
you the right analogy. So the right analogy would be, you're being hit, you're being punched, right? So you're being punched and you're being punched, and then I come in to help you, and I'm saying, oh my God, Doc's being punched. Let me quickly come and help him. So I come and help you, and then what happens is because I'm helping you, they start attacking me, and you're like, actually, bro, I'm leaving. It is what it is. That would be the analogy.
Yeah, well, I still like my analogy.
Well, I will
So,
tell you, I'm operating from a little different point of view than either of you because when we think about, I'm really comparing this more to what's in Iran's self-interest. Putting the judgment aside, they've become the moral leaders of the Middle East. So it's really a little bit like the Merovingians. I mean, only until Charlemagne was able to coalesce all of the Germanic tribes with under one moral supposition, like we're not going to be tyrannized over anymore, were they able to rise to power. And of course, then we had the Merovingian dynasty afterwards. Well, this is Iran's position now. Tucker Carlson made this point. They're the way they stood up for the people in Gaza And then the way that they're standing up against the immiseration of all the people in the Middle East who are willing to defend themselves or at least speaking out against it and resisting it, that gives them a moral claim that really inspires the world. So don't you think that it's a terrible mistake for Iran to just let Lebanon to say, well, we've got ours and another genocide in southern Lebanon, not our problem. Don't you think that strategically that's a bad idea, that logistically that's a bad idea because they're giving up this sort of moral superiority that they have right now in the eyes of the world? What do you think about that, Don?
No, you're throwing me back into my study of ancient European history with the Merovingian and Charlemagne and the Germanic tribes. Thanks for that ancient analogy. No, I don't disagree with you. I think that of course what's going on now in southern Lebanon is another genocide. I mean, I equate it to what's happened in Gaza over the last few years. And Israel, as we knew they would take every opportunity in the chaos of war to go ahead and continue their expansionist dreams of the Greater Israel Project. But I don't think that I'm just not at the point where I'm going to condemn Iran because they're not doing more. It's just that
So,
simple.
Doc, you know
No
what?
one's
I've
condemning
got
them.
some.
We're just raising
You know,
questions. But go ahead, Beatrix.
yeah, I'd like to add to this, please. So, Doc, here's the thing, right? It's fine to say that Iran shouldn't be held responsible for not helping Lebanon, except for the fact that at least for the last 112 days, if not for the last few years, or as long as I remember, Iran has always said and supported and encouraged everything Suleiman said is right about Hezbollah, even to this day, even in the goddamn MOU that they agreed 2 or 3 days ago, that Lebanon is non negotiable and that this ceasefire will not hold if Lebanon is attacked. So I'd rather they just came clean, right? And said, do you know what? Actually, we're cutting Lebanon loose, right? Our focus is economical, Iran first, and to normalize relationships with Iran. And we're going to work out. I've just literally read that Steve Witkoff is going to Switzerland to talk about a nuclear deal with Iran. Like, what the F is going on, right? So
That's a
I'd
con.
rather.
Where that's actually just be clear. That's Axios. Barak Ravid was claiming that. Unit
Okay,
82.
fine. Axios
Well,
claimed it. Whether it's happening or not, I would rather, if your position is the position you're taking, then surely you should be able to take it a step further, Doc, and say, and you know what, Iran has no obligation, and therefore Iran should say it has no
no,
obligation
no,
because
you're speaking that my opinion about matters has to be in absolutes, and that's just the way that you've
no,
reframed
I'm not saying
my.
that at all. What I'm saying is that surely if a country like Iran is saying that Lebanon is not negotiable, then they're showing you that they feel, at least on paper, that they have an obligation towards it. This is what I don't have a problem with your premise, Doc. I have a problem that if a nation's going to stand up and say Lebanon is non-negotiable, and then every time, which is freaking several times a day, Israel goes and kills people in Lebanon, Iran says, oh, let's give it a few days. Oh, maybe Trump will lure them in. Oh, let's have a look. Or maybe we'll just open the Strait of Hormuz now and let a few more ships in. Like, what the hell are you doing? Either you are standing by Lebanon or you're not, but make your position clear because people are dying and they're relying on you because you keep making these statements.
Yeah. It's you're framing it again on an absolute that it's either or, and this is a process, right?
No, it's not either
That's
or, Doc. It is what they
they may
say.
start defending. They may just start defending Lebanon tomorrow.
No, 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 no. You don't understand what I'm saying. What I'm
No, I
saying
guess
is
not.
they have to say and do the same thing. Otherwise, it's hypocrisy. This is what I was saying to Gigi before, and I got kicked off, and probably because of the names I was using. But what I was saying is the resistance leaders of yesterday, right? The resistance leaders that when I started following Palestine, I watched and observed. The likes of Ismail Hania and Sayyid Hassan Nasrullah and the Supreme Leader Khamenei. You bet your bottom dollar what they said and what they did were exactly the same thing, which is why people who actually followed the Palestinian cause and understood Lebanon and stuff really, really thought, yeah, you know what they say and do is the same thing. You cannot say that about these people in Iran today who are negotiating this deal. Absolutely
I
not.
don't know. I don't agree with that. I think that they have stood by and done everything they've said, and I just don't agree with what they're saying. So, for example, today I would say Morandi is almost a spokesperson for them, and he did actually say we're going to wait a few days and see. So they are doing what they said they're going to do.
No, but that's not what the Iranian leadership said. I'm not even talking about Professor Marandi
Well, who
Suleiman. The
exactly is the
negotiators said,
Iranian? Who exactly is the
oh,
Iranian
this
leadership?
Pezeshkian and Galibaf. You know, the Galibaf that said he wasn't negotiating and then was
Yeah, but
negotiating. That same
it's
Galibaf.
a movable feast, given the structure of their government.
What's your point,
You know,
Beatrice?
What's
Beatrice?
my point?
Yeah, no, what did you just say? You said you didn't mean Professor Miranda. What did you mean, though? I don't get it.
I mean, these Pezeshkian and Galibaf and stuff,
No,
Suleiman, every
but
time I hear
I'm
them
saying they
speak,
are. They are.
no,
They
no, no.
are.
But every time I hear them speak, right? Like for 112 days, week one, okay, they went to Pakistan. They came back and said Lebanon was part of that ceasefire and it's a red line for us. America turned around and said, oh, no, it wasn't. Pakistan said, yes, it was. Israel carried on bombing Lebanon. And literally, okay, so occasionally Iran kind of had skirmishes and jumped in and then back down and then had ceasefire talks all the while through, literally right the way through this 112 days, consistently Israel is bombing Lebanon. And what are we waiting for now? Oh, we'll give it a few more days because Trump, who we apparently everybody agrees is not to be trusted, lies through his teeth, gives contradictory statements, and it's America that put sanctions for 4 decades on Iran, but we're going to wait for the same leadership in America to hopefully deliver something to us because we're so desperate for that economic solution for Iran that we're actually going to wait. And you know what? People are going to be killed tonight in Lebanon and stuff, but we'll still give it a few more days. That's not sticking by Lebanon. That's my point.
So no, but you're conflating two different things. So one thing is, are they making the right decision? I agree with you, they're making the wrong decision. I've been saying that for the past so many days. Are they not doing what they said they would do? No, they're not. So they've got a contract. They put Lebanon in there. They stood by what they said. The only reason the contract got signed in the last minute is because they made sure Lebanon was totally and completely within there. And they've now said quite clearly today, because I see Professor Morandi as their spokesperson, essentially. I know he says he's not, but he basically relays their positions publicly, and he always asks them what's the position before he relays it, generally speaking. And so he said, we are going to be waiting a few days to see how things are before we respond. And their reasoning, I don't agree with, but their reasoning is what Hawes said. So I'm saying they have stuck by what they've said. I just don't agree with their decision, if that makes sense.
I also
But
think
then they
it's
haven't stood
important.
by what they've said. If they're going to give it a few days and they know people are going to get killed in Lebanon, what is the reason for the few days? None of it makes sense, Suleiman. The only thing that makes sense to me is that
Well, their
just
reasoning could be this, just to steelman their position. Their reasoning could be, well, we can jump in now, and if jumping in now means just going kinetic. So you go kinetic, fine. You'll bomb Israel, you'll smash them up. Israel will continue bombing Lebanon. So you won't save the number of people who are dying, it'll be the same number of people. And then in the end, you'll be in the negotiation table as well. And so, in their mind, wrongly, I'm saying, but in their mind, they're thinking if they can pressurize the Americans to change them into changing their mind, which I think is foolish because I don't think they will. But in their mind, they think that if they can pressure the Americans to change their mind, then that will mean that then there's peace and no one's being killed.
If I could,
and all the time they're
I
doing that, people are being killed. The irony. But sorry, Doc,
Yeah,
go
but
on.
yeah,
people
yes,
would still be
the
killed if they had
people
responded.
are not going to be stopped being killed. The
But at least you're
MOU.
fighting back. That's the point of resistance. Otherwise, don't talk about the freaking
So
resistance. That's my
it,
point,
it,
Doc.
it, yeah. So if I could say, an MOU is the most tenuous of agreements, and Sully a moment ago used the word contract. It is not a contract in any way, shape, or form. Right? It's an agreement to pause and to continue to negotiate. And the nuclear part of the negotiation, if Wickoff is going to Switzerland to talk about that, is an important component of an agreement that has any hope or in hell of constraining Israel's future behavior. The agreement has to be broad based. It hopefully gets to be a treaty here, treaty level here in America, so that Trump, after well, this is going to happen in this time frame, but so hopefully Trump and his current administration or future administration of Zionists who come in will not be able to send troops in support of Israel's genocide and dreams of global conquest. So this is why I'm urging patience in this situation. I think, yes, there are reasons to be critical of Iran and that it hasn't been more active in support, hasn't gone kinetic in effect, because that is the only thing, Sully. Going kinetic is the only way that they're going to stop Israel, if even that.
I
um, uh,
agree. That's the only way. But
to
that's the only.
attack Lebanon. We knew, we
That's the
knew,
only
right?
lesson they learned, though.
We right, we predicted that Israel would do everything they could to break up this agreement.
Exactly.
That
And
Can
was
so
I
that's the
say
point.
that was
something, Doc?
preset.
But that's the point. That's the point, Doc. Right? I think we
Yeah,
both agree that Israel would break the deal. We both
sure.
agree that no one can stop
What
them.
should we
It
do
seems.
about it? What should we
What should
do
we do
about
about
it?
it? And it
Right,
seems like the
right
only
now,
thing.
today, tomorrow. What should
Yeah.
Iran do about it? Should they go kinetic,
Yeah.
right, and
So
tear
that's the only
everything
thing.
up and go back to where we were, a
Yeah.
week ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think so. I
I
think
think
that's
so. I think so.
foolish, honestly.
Also, but then, okay. So let's say they don't do that. According to you, nothing can stop Israel. So you accept the genocide and
No,
murder of
I think
Lebanon.
what could stop Israel is the split that we're seeing here in
A split,
America, the
bro. It's
lack
not
of
split,
continuing
bro.
lack of
Split, man.
support, the continuing lack of support for Israel. We
A
see
split.
it degrading every day. American political support is very important for both Israel and Trump. We see that in so many ways that not to acknowledge that it's happened is sort of blind to the
No,
broader
it's
dynamic
happening,
here.
but it doesn't change. The Americans are against Israel, and we've seen the journey
No, I
of
don't think
break.
that's true. I think that the American politicians still are against Israel, and what we're
No, they
seeing.
fought Israel. What are you talking about? American politicians are not against Israel.
No, no. American politicians are for Israel. That's
Exactly.
why that we continue to support and fund
Exactly.
them, right?
Exactly.
But that support is cratering in the face of this ongoing conflict. And we've seen Trump bend to that. If he is, and I believe he is, and you guys have heard me say it 1,000 times in his space, compromised by the Epstein files. I don't think he's. I think there's a strain in the
There's no
relationship
split,
between
Doc.
Israel and America
Literally,
and
you're
Bibi
merging
and
your
Netanyahu.
military with Israel's military. Like, what is
No,
going
that's
on? There is no
proposed. We
split.
are
It's
not doing that. It
pantomime.
hasn't happened yet. It's
It's
May I say
proposed.
pantomime. There ain't
something,
no split.
Beatrice?
It hasn't passed into law. It's been proposed. It's in the
There is
legislative
no split,
process.
Doc. It's pantomime.
Okay,
There
let's
is
say
no
no,
split.
I'm
let's say there is a
sorry.
split.
I'm talking about
Doc,
legal, and you're talking
Doc. Let's say
about
there is a split.
a
One
PR
second. One second.
narrative.
Doc, let's say there is a split, right? Let's go with that. I don't think there is, but okay, I understand many people do. So let's go with that. There is a split. So how long would it take for a split to effectuate in this current
To be
scenario?
clear, I don't think there's a split. I
Oh,
think there's a change in the amount of support in America for the relationship.
who
I
do you mean
think
by
that's continuing.
America? Do you mean Trump? Or do you
I
mean
mean
the
Americans. I
Congress?
mean me. I mean the
Yeah.
thousands of
So
people in the
I
building I'm
no
in.
one disagrees. That's not
I
even
mean every
relevant. I
Californian. I
agree.
mean Americans.
I agree.
I mean the youth of America, the under
Yeah, we
25
know that.
crowd.
We know that. We
That's
know
what I'm
this.
talking about.
We
I'm
know
not
that.
saying there is a split. To be
So we
clear.
know, but Jock, we know this. American people, from a statistical perspective, even before this war in Iran, had already become anti-Israel, and
No, I
so
don't think
just
that's true at all, and
well, there was a
it
polling. I
ignores
believe it
the.
was
I don't
50.
think that's true at all. I
There was a
think it
polling
and
was 54%.
ignores what's happened between then and the last 112 days. The amount of support, yes, I think Americans still do support in some measure,
I
at least
think
in
you're not
terms of
listening
the
to what I'm
power
saying.
base.
I think you're not listening to what I'm saying.
No,
So
I'm clearly listening.
no, I don't think you are because I said
No, you
that.
because you said I and I. You're saying that I suggested that there is a split, and I have not said
I didn't
that
even
very
say that.
clearly.
Oh my god, I didn't even say that. I think you're like talking about something 10 minutes ago.
No.
Um,
I'm listening very
I
clearly to you. That's what you
literally
said. Maybe you're not aware
okay.
of what you said.
Okay, so let me just take one thing at a time. Is your position on February the 27th, the majority of Americans were supportive of Israel?
Yes.
Okay, so that's where we disagree because there was a poll that said 54% of Americans.
A poll. Well, okay.
Yeah.
You can go by a poll, and or you can listen to someone who's 67 years old, lived here his whole life, and been politically active for decades.
Yeah, I would take a poll really because
But
there'll be another.
your poll is to me as worthless as my anecdotal sort of comments about it.
That's fine. And
There,
your anecdotal comment is worthless as another random person's anecdotal
yeah.
comment.
That's what I
Yeah.
said before I said anything when I came up into space. It's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
But
And but anyway,
I have a question for Doc. Doc, if
coming back to the point,
mhm.
this shift amongst the American public, if Doc is right, and there was actually this has changed. That means it's taken it took the American public 4 years of watching a genocide, watching two wars with Iran, watching now the genocide in Lebanon, and only now they slightly have moved away from.
We haven't been watching it. It's not in our media anywhere. Matter of fact, we've had a tidal wave of propaganda the other way. That's changed. And if you don't recognize it, and you don't know what's going on in America.
I do know what's going on. I spend a lot of time in America, and actually, the same sources that were propagandizing people previously are still. If you look at Fox News and many of these
They
news
don't have
outlets,
the numbers that they did before. It's not even close. And that's another example that I'm right here.
I don't think you're
That
right.
spaces like this prove that I'm right here. That America, look at you said it. I've heard you say it many times. Most of the people in this space are Americans. You're
No,
educating.
no.
We've
Where I
been
differ with
educating.
you.
Give yourself some credit that
No,
you've
no,
made a
no. I'm
difference.
giving myself more credit because you're saying actually majority of Americans were still fooled up until 110 days ago. I'm saying no, they actually the majority woke up even before these 110 days. So
Yeah,
I'm giving
well, I
Americans
don't think
credit.
that's true because
You're
there's
basically
that.
saying they're ignorant and dumb and they couldn't even figure it out.
Sully,
We're on.
if that's
Can you not
true,
attack Americans, please?
if that's true, if that's true, you're acknowledging that there's been no change from over the 112 days. I think
No, no,
that's
I do.
just
Well,
I think
silly.
it's
no, it's not
increased.
true.
I think it's increased even more. So I
Right.
do think it's increased. That's what I'm saying. The majority. This is my position. February 27th, the majority of Americans had already turned against Israel, and actually for the youth, it was
Yeah, I disagree with
exponentially
that. I think
higher.
they still had majority support, and the
Yeah,
politicians'
we know
decisions
your
and
position.
actions,
Okay,
politicians'
but now I believe
actions
that the
supported the
position.
fact that they
Now I
would still
believe
had
that
that
the
majority
position is that
support.
there's more Americans who are against Israel
We agree
since
on
this
that
war,
point. Yeah.
since February the 27th, and I'm saying. I think your argument is, well, wait a bit longer, more Americans will turn. And I'm saying, well, how much more longer can we wait? Like, people are being murdered right now. And so, waiting for a random shift in the percentage of Americans, and I don't even think the people make that much of a difference in terms of the people make a difference, but changing Trump's decision right now, I don't think it'll be impacted. The vast
Yeah. So
majority.
what do you do with that opinion that not enough has changed here to make a difference, and Lebanon and then northern Lebanon continues to get attacked? What is your predictive course of action for
Yeah,
both
I said
America,
that
Israel, and
every
Iran?
time is no, no, I've been very clear. Every time Israel violates the ceasefire, you basically go kinetic and hit them.
And that just enables the Zionists in this country and the total control of the Zionist media in this country to attack Iran as they have in the past and encourages more support for the attack.
Yeah, they're doing that anyway.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. We need patience here. We need the process to continue.
I don't
People are going to
agree.
continue to
Yeah,
die.
a
I
lot of
don't
people
agree.
dying.
I think that their support plummets every time they do that. The idea that their propaganda just works and it's static, Doc, no, that's a currency that they're expending. So I don't agree. I think
Oh,
it's
I
time to
agree.
force
How
the
much did it
issue.
cost for Larry
And
Ellison to buy TikTok?
And
Yeah.
David, just to add to your point, as an example, every time, for example, if Iran had attacked Israel today, no one would have blamed Iran. Everyone would have blamed Israel for once again breaking the ceasefire, and everybody saw the visuals of the attacks. And even if people aren't on X, people are reporting it, everybody's saying it. Obviously, the ones who propagandized were always propagandized. So people were well aware of that. So the point being, I don't think the public, just like the Strait of Hormuz, closing the Strait of Hormuz, no one blamed Iran, even though it was Iran who closed it. People blamed Israel and the United States of America going to war. So it's a similar
No
kind of
one
thing.
blamed Iran. That's your position?
No, the majority of the world didn't blame Iran.
Oh, I don't think that's true at all.
So you think the majority blame Iran for shutting the Strait of Hormuz?
No, I don't think you should be posing the question as a majority either or. I think there's trends here, and the trends are
Wait,
really
is it
important.
majority inevitably either or? How could it not be so?
Exactly.
So, Doc, here's
You
the thing, right?
okay?
For 40 odd years that Iran was under American sanctions, the media, it was $1 billion industry to demonize Iran. Iran didn't care. The leadership of that time did not care about perception. They cared truly about what they stood for. That is no longer the case because every single person that seems to come up on this panel is like, oh, yeah, they've got to care about what people think. If they attack back, people might think they're not giving peace a chance. Like, who gives a damn? Like, seriously, people are dying.
No, but if you
They're
care about what
literally
people think,
dying.
Beatrix, I would say the majority of people, not majority, but a decent number of people are turning on Iran because they thought that, wait a sec, we've been duped. We thought Iran was standing for the people. We thought Iran was resisting. And actually, they just care about their own country. And so that's fine if they want to do so. But why did you tell us all? Because everyone was jumping
Yeah,
on the whole Iran
I
battle. And
agree.
I'm seeing a lot of people on social media, which I did predict that as Israel, the longer Iran takes to respond, more and more people will turn on them because Israel will, as per my prediction, increase their attacks every day would be more than the previous day, and that's exactly what's happened. It's easy to
And
predict what's
and
going to happen.
and that kind of proves the point that I'm making, right? People are turning. You heard Hoz come up here and say that there are mass protests in Iran. People are not happy with this ceasefire. People want their government to listen to them. It seems these Galibafs and Pezeshkians and whoever else is at the negotiating table don't care about what the people even that were supporting them think. And so that's not the reason why they're not actually attacking Lebanon, because they're caring about public sentiment or public perception or American perception or Western perception. It's not that.
But could this all be a propaganda of Zionist Israel to turn everything against now Iran? Don't you see that
No,
it could be? I'm not
no.
saying it is. I'm just saying Iran is Beatrice. It's that Japanese guy that you and I remember that stood on
No, but that's what it is, Gigi. You're right. So this is the point we're trying to make, that this game that they're playing is a Zionist game in order for people to turn against Iran. And this is the point I'm trying to make, that they win. They've succeeded in their game because Iran's fell for their trap. This is the point I'm making. I'm saying this was always going to be the trap, and they've basically fell for it.
But
Oh,
we are,
is that what you meant, Gigi? I might have misunderstood you. Did you mean that they were doing it to get Iran to back down and not support Lebanon to reduce their support in the world?
no, not at all. I'm just saying all the FUD now that monarchist Iranian support and Israeli. We know how much Zionist Israel spend on PR and social media
And
that are
politicians?
there's millions and millions of dollars
They
are
do
spent.
own the normal media too, by the way. Let's
Yes,
don't leave that out.
they spend to turn the whole event against Iran now. But we should be smarter than that. We should judge them by their action, don't we? We just
Yes,
have
and
to wait.
Gigi, they haven't given any action. Freaking people are dying in Lebanon.
Yes, yes,
That's the
yes,
point.
I
So the
know,
Zionists didn't do that. This leadership have done that.
my heart goes to everyone that dies, and I know that people are dying. But Beatrice, there is a way to head this monster. It's not by just acting irrationally and hit anytime we feel that we have to hit.
Hold on,
There is
hold
a
on.
game
You're saying
involved.
it's irrational to defend the southern Lebanese from genocide?
It is very rational to defend Lebanese from genocide. It is very
I think
rational
the
to.
problem we're having here is we're thinking about we're dealing with a normal country. So just imagine this is Game of Thrones. I feel like, and I'm addressing my friend Doc here as well, that we're talking about how one tribe should deal with another one. But no, these are the White Walkers, okay?
If
This is where
Khaleesi
we,
was here, she'd get her dragons out. But Khaleesi
yeah,
not
these
here
are,
No,
no
I'm
more.
sorry. I don't play any of those games, but
no,
I
no,
was
but these
recently
are,
in.
but Gigi, this is my point. This is a force of evil that needs people to coalesce, and they can only do that under a moral supposition. So if Iran says, well, okay, genocide is okay as long as it's not us, but that's the strength of Iran. The reason why the world is turning against Israel in favor of Iran is because they're seeing who the good guy is and who the bad guy is by what principles they defend, not just their borders, which are imaginary lines, by the way, but the people themselves. This is good versus evil. This is innocence versus guilt. And if I think it's a terrible, and I'm speaking selfishly because Doc, I have no reason to judge Iran because I'm from the country that killed the 160 schoolgirls. But I want selfishly to see them not give up that moral cudgel because I think that's their strength. And
No,
I think that
I
means they need to
agree
defend.
on that point. I agree at 10,000%.
I agree 100% too.
10,000%. That sounds like freaking
100%. We
Trump's
all we all
mathematics.
agree.
But sorry, go ahead, Gigi.
No,
We
there can be
all
10. There
agree.
can be 10,000% or something.
But judging what's happening in Iran from outside, we have a saying in Iran that we are standing outside a wrestling game and we say, put the guy down. It's not that easy. The Iranian have dealt with 47 years of sanction. I keep repeating myself. Not only with that,
But just
from
let's be clear on that, Gigi. This is your specific opinion because
You're not in Iran, and actually, those Iranians who have been in the 47 years of sanctions actually want the government to do something. And there, for example, Professor Morandi was saying that right now, and he was saying this the other day, and I've been watching a couple, and he was saying what's happened since this deal is he gets pulled up by, he said his office, he gets a lot more people who disagree with him and say, why have you made this deal, what about Lebanon? So it's quite clear everyone on the ground, Hoz was saying the same thing. So those Iranians who've been through the 47 years of sanctions, them specifically, they're saying do something for Lebanon. I just want to be clear on that. They are very moralistic, they're very honorable, and they're like, we need to do something. This cannot happen. So I just want to be clear on that. We need to make a
Did I
distinction.
say anything else, Suleiman? Did you hear from me
No,
that
you
I'm
didn't say.
not?
You didn't say. No, you didn't say. I was, because you mentioned the 47 years of sanctions, and I'm trying to make clear to the audience that despite the 47 years of sanctions, that these people still hold that moralistic position that they believe that you should stand for Lebanon. You should stand for Lebanon. I want to be clear on that.
I stand for Lebanon.
Let me ask a question real quick. Sully,
No, but
have you
your position is that you need to hold on, but their position isn't that you need to hold on.
have you brought the specific topic and the specific issue that I'll broadly categorize it as condemnation for Iran for not doing more at this point, not defending and continuing to defend once they stepped in. Have you addressed this with Professor Marandi and had his comments about what where the leadership is on
Yeah,
this?
I'll message him when I get him on, and I will ask him the same question. And I'm very
Oh, but
confident.
you haven't done it yet. You have him coming up tonight or today or
Well,
whatever
I
time it is.
messaged him. He hasn't come back. But what's your point about that?
Well, I'm just curious to hear his opinion.
Okay, so I'm telling you, I listened to a couple of his interviews, and what he said was that this is the points he said. He said we're going to wait a few more days. He said yes, when I go on the streets in Iran, people are not happy with us for making this deal and not look and basically not responding to the attack on Lebanon. So this is what he
And
said.
are you critical of him for taking that position?
Um, Critical of it for, yeah, I don't think it's the right thing to wait a few days. I think it's the wrong decision.
Yeah, well, I'd be very interested in that discussion between the two of you next time it happens.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but thank you. I'm sorry, I'm cutting in a little bit. But I've rushed home from work just to be able to come on the space and catch up on everything that's going on. Lovely to see everybody here. Thank you for the space, Suleiman, Beatrix holding it down. Yeah, Israel Capret bombing Lebanon is, first off, the fact is with every second they wait, more people die, right? But even to be selfish about the situation, is Israel showing Iran like we don't care. We're going to do what we want to do, and you're not going to do anything about it. And guess what? We will come for you next, like right away. We'll come for you right away. Like we're already drawing out plans. Like we don't care about Trump. Trump is a non-factor. Nobody's going to stop us, and you can't stop us. So it's not even like, not to say just about Lebanon, because Lebanon itself is already a huge deal, but they are coming for you, and they're going to come for you hard. They need to be shut down, and Iran is the only country that could do it. Like it's just a simple fact. There is no negotiation. Like this ceasefire, I'm sorry, memorandums and all that. You're dealing with liars. We've seen this with the Minsk Accords, with all that, with Russia. We have enough evidence to show that these negotiations don't mean a single thing, and people are they're not just like dying, maybe they're getting sick, they're being slaughtered, they're being carpet bombed. This is not right, and these people are showing the world, they're saying we don't care who says what, we will kill whoever we need to kill to get whatever we need to get, and they will come for Iran the same way too. So it's not just like, oh, we got to take our time. They don't take their time when they come to kill. They kill immediately. They kill at will. They don't care. So they're, while I don't know, all this time taken, I get it. I mean, I don't. To be honest, I really don't. I'm actually probably, they say hardliner. They call me a hardliner. You call me a radical, whatever. Enough. This is enough. Enough. It's just crazy. Thank you for letting me just get that out. Thank you.
I thought all tethers were hardliners, but okay.
For sure, we are.
Can I jump in?
Whoever said that, yeah, jump in. Whoever said that, go ahead.
Yeah, it's me. You were here. Yeah. I'm with you, Suleiman and Beatrix and others in the room that would like to see Iran hit Israel for what it's doing right now, because that does seem to be in line
with what they said they were going to do. However, coming up to the MOU, I noticed a slight change, and they actually did put out a paper in Press TV in which they were basically saying that they're linking the stopping of the bombing to the peace talks. So what they seem to be saying is, we won't talk about uranium enrichment. We won't talk about any of these things until you stop bombing. Is that what they're doing? Just
Yeah,
having a
Yuvala,
slightly
they did say that, but for me,
strategy?
that's irrelevant
Huh?
because they're privately talking anyway. They're talking through Pakistan. And so, them going to an official meeting in Switzerland is kind of like neither here nor there, if that makes sense. If you look at the actual, even in this MOU, they went to
Mm,
Pakistan physically. That didn't really achieve anything. It's that negotiations that happened not in person, but through these exchanges of messages that actually effectuated the MOU, right?
mm. So you're saying linking it to the talks is worthless because they're talking anyway. Is that what you're
Yeah,
making?
yeah. I think in reality, yeah, that's right, Yuella. Yeah, go ahead, jump in. Sorry. Is there anything you
Yeah.
want to add?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That was my point for now.
Yeah. Let's go to who was next, Beatrix? Because I'm quickly getting ready as well.
Yes, thank you very much. It's Wes who was next. Wes, thanks for waiting. Jump in.
Hey, can you guys hear me okay?
We can.
Hey, I was just gonna talk on Doc's point where I kind of agree with him, and as far as like the being patient part, I want to give Iran a lot more credit. I mean, they had a plan, they've had a plan, and they are executing a plan. And I mean, I want to see the Israelis stopped doing what they're doing in Lebanon as much as you guys. But, I just wanted to kind of maybe share a perspective that might, oh, I don't know, give you more hope for patience. I mean, Iran didn't just magically have these capabilities of all of these ballistic missiles while Gaza was being destroyed or while the genocides were happening. And they didn't step in and hit Israel with a ton of ballistic missiles. And so they had a game plan. They're holding back. They have to, and so that's kind of what I feel like they're doing in Lebanon right now, or with Lebanon in the situation is they have a plan and they're going to do something. So that's what I was just trying to. That's my perspective to give me hope, and I just wanted to share it with the space here. To I know it's frustrating, so sometimes I just try to give a different perspective, maybe make it less frustrating for people.
Yeah, I think that's worse. If you're saying that they had the bit with Gaza, I mean, I think with Gaza, people do criticize. I don't, but people do criticize them for not jumping in with Gaza. I think that they couldn't do it with Gaza. It was way too complex. I always said that, and I don't think that they've done it right now for their own internal reasons. I mean, they were attacked, right? This was all defensive. So yeah, that's that. Let's go to Thermo.
Hi, Sully. How are you doing?
Yeah, good,
Uh,
good. How you doing?
Good. Long time. I haven't talked to you guys in a long time. Been busy with work. Um, I just wanted to offer like a few other things to take into consideration. Um, so first, I just wanted to say that, for Iran, it's not just a moral duty to defend Hezbollah, it's about national security as well. And so, this goes back to the whole forward defense concept that Soleimani came up with a while back. And, the two are just kind of intertwined in that sense. Now, I don't know, I can't tell you exactly how Iranian leadership is thinking about this. I hope not, but it's possible that some of them are thinking, well, as long as Hezbollah is okay and kicking Israel's ass, then we don't really care what else is happening. There could also be another view that, this has to play out eventually anyways. Israel has to go into Lebanon and get its ass kicked. And so by Hezbollah every once in a while. But I think there's also a broader thing going on here, which is that, I agree with you that there are people turning against Iran. to some extent, in the just in light of it letting Lebanon suffer these kinds of attacks. But I do also think that we also have to think about the future, and how future events may affect public opinion. So if oil inventories do hit tank bottoms, I mean, that is truly like a horrific thing to even imagine. I know it's, it's hard for people to imagine that right now, but people starving to death in mass around the world, and I think that a lot of the Iranian leadership, I have to imagine, they're a bit squeamish about letting that uh, letting that sort of fall on their shoulders, both in terms of causing it, but also in terms of public opinion.
But why would it fall on? Okay.
Go ahead,
So,
Gilbert.
so, um, Samo, you're saying basically, because the Strait of Hormuz was closed and it might cause economic stress for people across the world, they keep pledging to support the resistance in Lebanon, but they've decided just to let them die because they'd rather like support people who might be facing economic stress because the Strait of Hormuz is open. Like, I don't get it.
No, so I don't think that they're ever going to let Lebanon just be annihilated because it's too important for them.
Well, they need
But,
to step up and do something then rather than just give words, right?
well, I mean, yeah, I don't think that it's just been giving words. So,
What have they done?
they stopped Israel from hitting Beirut, right?
Beirut has been hit repeatedly, like over the years, repeatedly. I've been to Beirut a number of times, right?
Well, I'm
Beirut
talking
has been,
about in the recent conflict. I'm not talking about years ago.
but it's not even years ago,
Um,
even in the recent conflict. Like literally, it's not even in the last 112 days, even in the last year they've hit Beirut. Like that's not a new phenomenon. Do you know what I mean? It's just like it's a fake bogus red line because at the end of the day, what's different about a child dying in southern Lebanon and a child dying in Beirut? What's so different? Tell me.
the
Why is
problem
southern
is,
Lebanon acceptable?
southern Lebanon has been invaded. And so it takes a lot more leverage to get Israel to pull all of its troops out of Lebanon.
No, no, I'm not talking about that. Southern Lebanon being bombed and Beirut being bombed, what's the difference?
Because southern Lebanon is already being annihilated. It's like Gaza,
Oh,
basically.
okay. So if the kids are being killed somewhere, then it's fine, but just don't go into new territory to kill some other kids.
You basically, when someone's already doing something, it's easier to get them not to do more of it than to stop doing what they're already doing.
Then I'd rather Iran just say that it's fine. Just you can, you know what, southern Lebanon's all up for game. You can take it, annex it, bomb it, whatever. Just don't actually cross into further new territory. And you know
Well,
what? If
no,
Pezeshkian and Galibaf said that, I'd respect them more than the statements that are coming out of them right about
but
now.
but that's not how it is. That they want Israel to be out of Lebanon eventually. Like that is very important for them. They don't want Israel to take any land in Lebanon. And that's not just for moral reasons. Again, that is a matter of national security for them. The more Israel can expand, then the harder it is to put geopolitical pressure on them, both militarily in every sense you can possibly imagine. Right. So the
Well,
goal is to contain Israel as much as possible. But the problem is that right when the war started, Israel invaded Lebanon and they've been occupying southern Lebanon while Iran was getting bombed heavily by the US and Israel.
no, no, Thermo, you're wrong because you're starting the clock then. Like literally the amount of times they've invaded Lebanon, like it's always part of their thing to have that southern border. Always,
Yeah, but
always.
that wasn't Hezbollah's fault, right? Because if you remember
No,
in 2024, Hezbollah defended the entirety of Lebanon, including the borders. They didn't even let Israelis take an inch. And they won that war. Israel retreated. And then there was a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hezbollah and the Lebanese government. And the agreement was Hezbollah was going to retreat, the Lebanese government was going to go to the border, and then the border would still be secure. So Hezbollah was like, okay, cool, let's do this. So they retreated, the Lebanese government betrayed. They didn't move to the border, and then Israel just walked into those villages that Hezbollah had defended for months and sacrificed so many lives for. So that taking of the even those villages was done in a deceptive manner, in a Zionist manner.
No,
Yeah, and
no, I
Beatrix,
completely
it's
agree with that. But Thermo, just really quickly, because I see that we've got an actual WEF guy up here as well. But Thermo, just really quickly, right? Like southern Lebanon has always been on Israel's radar. It's not a 112-day thing. The 2006 invasion that they did, they got their backsides handed to them and they left. It's a constant thing, and all Hezbollah's ever done is defend its territory. Now, do you know what?
right.
So when President Raisi was killed, right? That helicopter didn't just go down in thin air. Ismail Hania went for his this Pezeshkian, this freaking doctor who became president, his inauguration because he was taking over from President Raisi. Ismail Hania landed in Tehran and he was assassinated when he went for the inauguration. When I look at the timeline of events and the way that they've occurred, and yet Pezeshkian's had zero attempts on his life, zero. And the way I'm looking at it is that it's all about economic interest and everything else is just like verbal diarrhea. It's like, oh, we're going to defend Lebanon. Let's just give it a few more days. Oh, yeah, they killed 74 people yesterday. But, oh, do you know what? We've got to give it time because we can't have people thinking that we broke the ceasefire, even though the whole world is screaming, including all the brave Iranians on the streets of Tehran, that we don't want this ceasefire because Israel will never accept it, but they're just blinded to everything. So what the hell is going on?
So, okay, first, economic interest is preceded by military interest. If you don't have national security, then you don't have an economy, right? I mean, that's what this war is actually teaching us in real time. So, even if we were to put all morality aside, Iran has a national security interest in southern Lebanon. Now, you mentioned that in the past, southern Lebanon has been under attack or invaded, but that there was a different paradigm at the time. So prior to this war, Iran was not getting militarily involved against Israel directly over Lebanon because it feared the US attacking it up until this recent war. So what they would do is they would support Hezbollah with weaponry and money, basically, and then Hezbollah would defend Lebanon, and that's how we had this whole structure going for like decades. But what happened recently is that now, because the U.S. has already attacked Iran, and Iran has actually shown itself that it can withstand the U.S.'s military might, now Iran is getting more confident in getting directly militarily involved with these two parties.
Yeah, except the 12-day war last year when Iran proved its military might even then and went all out.
That
But
was
anyway, let's
only
go to
against Israel.
Yeah, I know, but it did show its military might, and it wasn't just against Israel. It had the entire GCC countries using their kind of defensive systems to protect Israel, and it still managed to bish bash bosh Israel to Kingdom Come in 12 days, where they begged for a ceasefire. But look, Thermo, I want to
But you
continue
do
this
see how
discussion.
that's different, right?
Thermo, just give me
Like
1 second.
from
I want to continue this discussion, but I'd like you to do me a favor. Come on earlier tomorrow, because I've got a couple of hands up, and I know Suleiman's going to wrap to go to the interview in any second now. So I want to go to Joe really
sure,
quickly, and Joe takes
sure.
forever to talk. And then we go to
Yeah.
Joe's
Mark.
like almost turned up 2 minutes before the end, so it is what it is.
Yeah, but I've been listening. And the thing is look, I get your guys' sentiment, Suleiman and Beatrix. But
Oh
Wait,
my
I
God, we
have a
don't even
different
have the same
hold,
opinion.
sentiment. What are
hold,
you talking
I don't
about?
have the same opinion as her at
yeah,
all.
I
The
understand
only,
both.
the
I
only,
understand.
the only thing that it seems like is similar is I think Iran should respond soon because it's gonna,
Hmm.
well, ASAP, because I think it will harm them. And I predicted this before, and exactly what I predicted is happening. But do continue.
Yeah, the bombing of Lebanon has worsened, not gotten better, even though Iran has struck Israel, right? The same way America doesn't have the ability to invade Iran, Iran does not have the ability to invade Israel. It cannot stop it through bombs. If you look at what happened in Ireland or what happened in South America, it is international pressure that eventually stops this. Iran has done an amazing feat, which is it was seen as a pariah on the world by majority of countries, and today it is seen as a moral force that will gain international pressure. They can bomb Israel to hell. It's not going to stop them from bombing Lebanon. Every time they hit Israel, they bomb Lebanon worse. The bombing, more people have been killed every time. If it is about human life, more people die after Iran hits Israel than they do before Iran hits Israel. Right? You need to ramp up pressure. I think that whoever's in charge in Iran has done an amazing job of turning international opinion, turning around their image, and you need to give them some trust, and they know what they're doing. And I really, really hate the fact that people are going against their government right now because that's how the enemy wins: is you divide the population. And I honestly believe that's being done by Zionists. Although yes, there are some people probably in Iran who are upset. I think they're getting extra fuel from Israel in order to get that message out so that they can divide the people, because that's how they'll win.
But this government has lied to its people, Joa, right? Let's not forget it. Galibaf said he wasn't negotiating.
Yeah.
Who's got a kid in the background? And then he turned out to be negotiating. Like, they've lied throughout this whole thing, right? So they played like they're only there to represent their people. Forget about all of us. We don't live in Iran. But the Iranians who've sacrificed, right, generations of sanctions and economic hardship, they're on the streets of Tehran saying, we don't want this ceasefire. They're livid because of what happened in Minab School. They haven't forgotten what happened to Sayyid Ali Khamenei. So if they're not there to listen to their people, if they're not there to listen to anything else, if they don't care about public opinion, if they need more time, who are they acting in the interests of? Tell me that.
But play that story out. Okay, fine. Iran gives in to the will of those people. There's no ceasefire. What does this look like, for the next 6 months?
Okay, so what it looks like is based on all the statements that they've been giving for the last 112 days. We don't care about annihilation. We will not surrender. Like all of that crap that's been coming out. Don't give us those statements. Don't give your people those statements then. Tell them the truth and tell them that we're going to take time. We're not going to react easily. We're going to take our foot off the pedal. Yes, Lebanon will be bombed a little bit here and there. But look, we've got to look at the bigger picture. Give them the truth. Don't give them these bombastic statements that make you look like the warrior or resistance force, which you're not. You're an economic haggler.
You want Iran to tell Israel, hey, don't worry, guys, we're going to take it easy.
No, well, you know what? Well, that's what they're doing.
You're saying.
No, but that's what they're doing already, Joa. That's what they are doing. What they're doing is saying, oh, no, Joa, they are literally saying, we trust Trump. Which is as good as saying to Israel, we're giving you time. Literally, that's what they're saying.
They didn't say they trust Trump.
They never
come
said
on,
that.
what is this?
They
That we're
never
going to
said
give it
that.
a few more days. What is that? Sorry, go ahead, Casey.
So guys, if you're on the second channel, we are going to be moving across to the moral resistance channel. So that's pinned. So come across. I'll be ending that in literally 10 seconds and then moving across within 10 seconds as well. Sorry, back to you.
Yeah. Beatrix, I guess let Mark go because he didn't get a chance. He had his hand up. Although he only has a few
you
seconds.
waiting till all his time.